Here comes Butler. He's shifty. Look at that. Look at this.
Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Someone Joshua gets it back outside. Meyer, nice shot from outside. He is a 42% three-point shooter.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
2 to fire. Mitchell on the fly.
Boy, Mitchell's having himself a game.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
The other way, can they beat it on the fly? Flagler caught!
Have you downloaded the SicEm365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Here they go! It almost looked like Vital was in slow motion. He was in the air so long.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Baylor into the Sweet 16, and Villanova coming up on Saturday late afternoon against a team that's won 2 of the last 4 national titles. Baylor trying to get to their first ever Final Four, 2 wins away from getting that done after the win Friday. We were on the air and had post-game, of course, with Jared Butler when they beat Hartford, but then on yesterday, Sunday, against Wisconsin. We'll have comments and a couple of stats, and there's a stat that David K. put in the notes that I put up that I don't think a lot of people saw that is mind-blowing, considering where Baylor has been in the last couple of weeks. Paul, you brought this up today. Baylor seems to be, Jerome Tang joins us at 3:30, Seth Greenberg of ESPN College Game Day at 4:30, Evan Miyakawa at 4:10, and Jason King will join us at 5:30, Colt Barber on Baylor football spring drills at 5 o'clock. Are they now getting to the point where they're starting to dictate the tempo, and the question is how and why?
Well, a part of it is that their defensive rotations are back. So what they weren't doing on defense the last couple of weeks, even though they were still winning, was they weren't creating offense off their defense. So they weren't getting those kind of transition buckets. They weren't so in somebody's face that the frustration was there. Well, we saw that with Wisconsin the other day. They were just, especially early on, or about halfway through the first half and early on in the second half, they were just so in Wisconsin's head that they were in control of the game, only down to a 7-point lead towards the end of the game, and then wound up winning by 13. So the defensive back, the rotations are there, especially, and that makes Davion Mitchell that much more effective. And you see all those things happening, and I think that's the biggest reason.
Yeah, defense. Also, Jonathan Meyer had a big game, obviously, with Matthew Meyer, had a big game with Jonathan Chama-Chachua in foul trouble. It's good to see him that guy's problematic. There's not many teams that can have an answer when Matthew Meyer's, on his A game. So, yeah, defense, him stepping up, combination of things, but defensive effort certainly was, I think, the difference maker in that game and why they're moving on to the Sweet 16.
Jerome Tang, I asked him that question. I said, how are you guys now dictating, again, the tempo? He said one of the reasons, and that's at 3:30 today, an insightful, I think, 15 minutes or so with him, that's because of the fact that they're also playing teams that don't see them very often, where you're always playing somebody twice in the Big 12 and sometimes 3 times, like at Oklahoma State, that they know how to stop what you do there. That doesn't always mean they're going to beat you, but they know how to they know how to defend. Lon Kruger and Chris Beard and Shaka or whoever else, and I still can't believe Texas lost to Abilene Christian. That was one of the great moments in the tournament. But those guys, Bill Self, Bob Huggins, they're going to find a way. They're going to, we got to stop that. We got to at least slow it down, and they can do that. They've seen you enough, where Wisconsin had 1 day to prepare for Baylor, even though they saw them, a handful of years ago. And then obviously Hartford had a little bit of time, and that's why it took a little bit more time to kind of pop that door, blow the top off of that game as well. What has been a remarkable first 3.5 days, Oklahoma trails Gonzaga by 19, 14 minutes left in that game, 60-41. And then earlier today, Oregon knocked out Luka Garza and number 2 seed Iowa 95-80. So the Big Ten falls. The Pac-12 is 8-0 in the tournament. 8-0, Colorado, UCLA, and I think even one other team still to come. So what has been the biggest moment of this tournament? What's been the biggest story through 3.5 days of the tournament?
I think the biggest story, moment is a different thing because that's a little debatable. But the biggest story is that the lower seeds are winning and have staying power. I think some of them have staying power. And what you want to call a low seed, okay, let's go 8 and below. Because what Loyola did to Illinois was not just upsetting a 1 seed. That was beating a 1 seed like a drum. They beat them bad.
Yeah, they controlled that game for a long time.
They led the whole game. And, but then you also look at, you've got some 15 seeds and 14 seeds and 13 seeds winning, and they don't have to, and I'll bring this up later in the show for another segment, but they don't have to go home and hear usually some of those teams are small towns or small communities. They don't have to hear how great they are all week. They just get to go back to work, and that's dangerous because the travel and all that stuff usually can kind of wear them out. Well, now they just get to kick back and work.
Yeah, it's Oral Roberts. It's Loyola. That's the story for me. I don't really care about who's not there or who's been upset or whatever. The upsets are, a little bit more rapid this year or more regular this year, I think, than they feel like they've been in a long time. There's been numerous of them. But, yeah, it's the lower seeds working their way into the first couple of rounds. And, just how, I guess, competitive they have been. As Paul said, it's not like they're just fluky, like, hey, bucket at the very end of the game. It's like controlling the game and winning the game and finishing the game and proving that they deserve to win the game, not just this Cinderella slipper stuff. So, yeah, that's been a little bit surprising and has certainly added a little bit more pizzazz to this tournament and made it fun. It's been a fun first weekend, that's for sure. Yeah,
Loyola Chicago, Ohio, and Oral Roberts, they're the real deal. Syracuse is a double-digit seed. Do you know that Jim Boeheim, whenever he's a double-digit seed, I think almost every time he's gone to the Sweet 16, there's a stat I had tried to find that Jay Wright, anytime Villanova goes to the Sweet 16, they make it to the Final Four. They've won 2 of the last 4 national titles.
Well, that's not good. It's not good news for Baylor.
Well, I'm just saying
who they play
that doesn't
Saturday,
mean. But I'm just saying. So that's one of those. There's trends, and there are. But the Ohio story with Jalen Preston, what a great story. He was a college wanting to get into sports writing, gets seen on video on Twitter. Next thing you know, somebody recruits him. He's a star for Ohio. This has been fun. It's been a remarkable tournament. I talked to David Willis Sr. of the Willis Law Firm earlier, and he was telling me he's never had more fun. He said, listen, Baylor winning obviously helps. He's never had more fun watching a tournament, and that says a lot because he has seen a lot, like I have, and all of us have, some great tournaments. Here's the stat that blows me away. 254-339-1122. Lines are open right now. Also, the text line is open. Scotty B popped in. We'll read that, Scotty B, here momentarily. So David K. in his notes that we get after the game is over. Baylor had 4 turnovers in that win against Wisconsin. 4. 3 of them were offensive fouls on charges. One of them was when Davion Mitchell was called for a carry, which means they did not turn the ball over a single time in play. A bad pass, a ball stolen, a great defensive play by Wisconsin to turn it over, a ball off your foot. None of that. Not a single live game type turnover, although, the game clock's moving until the charge call. And then the Davion carry. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm sure that's happened before, but I can't remember.
I guarantee something like that's happened before. But, especially given this team's affinity for turning the ball over at times, that's an impressive stat. That's why they didn't only beat Wisconsin, they beat Wisconsin convincingly and pretty handily. And if not for, Wisconsin just really shooting, kind of lights out in the second half, they might win by 20 plus, you know? So that game – I know in the second half it caused some maybe a little bit of stress. It got within 7 or whatever, but it never really got past that. So I don't think you could have asked for a more ideal second round win than, you knew you were facing a good team either way, but you face a team like Wisconsin, the Big Ten's, all pumped up with how good their league is supposed to be or whatever. And, that's just a fundamentally sound big team. And, yeah, you went and handled it, and you handled it really easily. And a big part of the reason is because you didn't turn the ball over.
Well, and you want another storyline is, the two best conferences going in, everyone thought were the Big 12 and the Big 10.
Yep.
The Big 12 has got a team in the Sweet 16. The Big 10 has two chances tonight. Maryland's got a tough matchup with Alabama, and then Michigan has to play LSU, which is a game that they could very well lose. LSU is a good team. So there's a good chance that between the two of them, there might be two in the tournament. If Kansas doesn't beat
Southern Cal
tonight, I think Kansas does win that game. But the best conferences are the ones we're talked about. A little out of the Sweet 16, the Pac-12 looks sitting pretty.
Yeah, you wonder how many of the Big Ten and the Big 12 have been knocked out by mid-majors. Texas Tech lost to Arkansas. That's in the SEC. Houston had a huge win yesterday. That was gutty because it looked like they were dead to rights. Now, Abilene Christian at 4:15 tips against UCLA. Ohio and Creighton at 5:10. So there's a couple of teams that are surprises where they are. And then LSU, Michigan. You have Colorado and Florida State. Maryland, Alabama, Southern Cal, Kansas to wrap up the day. Oklahoma now down 66-49 with about 13 or 14 minutes left. In Oregon, Dana Altman from Oregon is now 14-6 in the tournament. The NCAA tournament has taken the Ducks to 5 Sweet 16 appearances, has never lost in the first round.
Brilliant strategy. Had Andy Katz had this done at halftime. So, and it was smart. They didn't sit around and wonder what was going to happen after the VCU thing. They went right to work. They went right to working on preparing for Iowa, and you could tell from the jump they knew everything Iowa was going to do. And of course, the first half of that game, nobody was playing defense. I mean, it was just score until Oregon went on a really good run and took a big lead into half. But man, Iowa just got worked.
Yeah, I mean, Oregon definitely used that extra energy from not having played a first game and kind of ran around and, exhausted Iowa basically. So, yeah, I mean, that was a good strategy. It also is super beneficial to not have played a game when the other team has. So maybe that's a little feather in the cap for Oregon moving forward. I don't know.
Lady Bears rolled past Jackson State, something you would expect them to do. We'll hear from Kim Mulkey in a moment on a couple of things from down in San Antonio. And tonight, A&M, they're a number 2 seed. They played Troy. Iowa State plays tonight. Texas plays tonight. The Big 12, Oklahoma State winning handily yesterday in the first round. Now, Davion Mitchell, we talked about the defensive rotations. Davion Mitchell was asked about it. We'll also hear from Scott Drew on the team just kind of playing and having fun. You saw smiles and much more. Jerome Tang at 3:30, but let's go to the phone calls. 254-339-1122 and the text messages as well. SicEm365 Radio.
Stephen from Virginia, you're on SicEm365 Radio. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, guys. I wanted to come in with two quick macro level takes and one Baylor take. The first one is that the Pac-12 is a lot better than I think all of us thought. I don't want to get too carried away because I think a lot of times people see what happens in the tournament and discount what happened in the regular season, but the Pac-12 came to play considering the worst team in the Pac-12 that made the tournament, Oregon State, is still playing. And they beat a couple of very good teams to get there in Tennessee and Oklahoma State. The second take is if you're ever a 1, 2, 3, 4 seed and a small school from your state is your opponent in the first round, or second round, you should feel worried. When Illinois had to face Loyola Chicago, they faced a team full of kids that had spent their whole life wanting to go to the University of Illinois, and they beat them down. And the same could be said about all the kids who went to Abilene Christian. I would guarantee you that there's a good percentage of those kids that after they graduate from Abilene Christian are going to root for the University of Texas, or would have if they didn't play them. They would go to football games on Sunday. No one really wants to root for Abilene Christian football. They would rather root for the team that they root for when they were kids. And all those kids for Abilene Christian would have loved to go to Texas, and they beat them too. But my main Baylor take, and was the defense was so much better in these last two games. And I think that their defensive ratings have gone down because of how they played post-COVID in the immediate aftermath. But I still think this is a top 10 defensive team in the country because they smothered Hartford. Hartford looked like a high school team. And then Wisconsin didn't look too much better. And the last thing I want to say is Baylor was up maybe 14 or 12 with a minute and a half to go, and I was yelling at the TV. And my friend said, "You can calm down now." And I said, after you've seen R.J. Hunter go off for like 13 or 12 and 126, I don't think I'll ever be able to watch any of these games unless somebody's up 20 or 30 with a minute and a half to go. Because that and Yale 2 times in 3 years, really, that damaged my psyche in March. So this is just how I am now. Later, guys.
Yeah, it's kind of like NCAA PTSD. You know, you just got to have that. You always remember that, right?
I have it just based on having to book flights so fast after being in both those things.
Or bring people back. 254-339-1122. Let's go back to the lines. And again, the text message. You got another one about the game with Villanova. We'll get to that as well. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, and David Smoak. Armstrong Sims runs the mothership on this Monday afternoon.
T-Rex, you're on SicEm365 Radio. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon to everybody that doesn't wear burnt orange. As somebody who spent 3.5 years, regretfully, in the city of Abilene going to McMurray, I was not raised, but, we didn't talk to those people across town at Abilene Christian. They came to our side to party. We had the bars, but, we made sure that our women didn't go over to them and their women didn't come over to us because their women had to be back on campus by 11 o'clock because of curfew. We didn't commingle with those folks over there in purple. But, hey, the other night we were all Wildcats. So shout out to Abilene. Good luck today. I would love for y'all to knock out UCLA and just keep clearing our path in one way or another. But there's a stat about Texas basketball that I just had to share. In the last 7 years, the University of Texas has more NIT championships than they do first-round NCAA victories. It just means more in Austin, Texas. How many millions of dollars is a state taxpayer is going to throw away on coaches in Austin, Texas? Will we eventually, be able to stand up as a tax-paying citizen and demand more excellence out of our quote-unquote flagship school? Or are we just going to keep wasting away? I look outside and I feel like my sidewalks could be improved. There's some tax dollars that could go to that. Why are we sending so much money to the University of Texas when we got kids rolling around on cracked sidewalks? That's, more beneficial than $7 million for another coach just to, underperform. But, hey, I don't wear orange. Maybe their expectations are a little different. Maybe they're living back in 2008 or something when they thought they were good at everything. I don't know. But, yeah. Our old friend UT Mike, haven't heard him calling in a while. Hope you're listening. We play next Saturday at about 4:30 if you want to tune in. Sic'em Bears, Shaka Smart, I hope you never leave. I'll even extend your contract. God, I'm so glad my parents didn't raise me to be a Longhorn. I'm out of here. I'm really going to rant. Sic'em Bears.
Stephen and T-Rex, we appreciate you guys a lot. We don't need to talk too much about Texas because they're gone. But there's no.
I think if the shoe was on the other foot, fun talking a lot of trash.
They are so caught up in the glitz and glamour and how much money and how the name of the. They have 3 guys. Greg Brown could play in the NBA, although he has to mature. They have Kai Jones. They have I can't remember. They have 3 guys who are unbelievably 6'9", 10, and 11. And Abilene Christian out-rebounded them because of guts, because of instincts. They turned the ball over with all those guards 23 times, but they've done that most of the year. They got hot at the right time. And as always, anytime they have any success, it is almost inevitable that everyone overreacts. That I hate to hear that term. It's back. That's stupid. But it's inevitable. People nationally, and even some of us, we get caught up in that.
Well,
and they're gone, and they're one and done. And that Southland Conference, they have teams like that because of Brad Underwood, what he did, what Kyle Keller does. They play hard, and they have to because they don't have Kai Jones and they don't have Greg Brown and they don't have those type of players.
I think a good metaphor for Texas is they're kind of like the guy who gets a Lamborghini. And listen, a Lamborghini's a sweet-ass car, right? Goes real fast. You know, not many people have Lamborghinis, so you're kind of unique. But when it comes down to it, okay, so the Lamborghini goes real fast. Where can you drive as fast as a Lamborghini can go legally?
Nowhere.
Okay.
On a racetrack, and you can't get in it.
If all four of us wanted to go to dinner and the only car available was a Lamborghini, two of us are getting in an Uber. You know, so again, even though you have the money to buy a Lamborghini, I'm sure even those people get ticked off at how much gas they got to put in the thing. So at the end of the day, is it worth it to have a Lamborghini, or would you, give me a Kia Sportage?
Well, if I gave you a Lamborghini, you'd drive it.
But I mean,
so if you're going to get them, you want them, but can you develop them?
Yeah.
It's crazy, that game. I went to bed. I didn't see the second half. I saw Abilene Christian missed the last 11 shots at the half. Texas was up 7 or whatever. I'm like, okay. I didn't watch it. 3 o'clock in the morning, you sent me a text and you went, God, Longhorns have such a horseshoe. So I thought, okay, they won on something. Then I wake up, my God, they had won the game. I was stunned by that. And 53-52, they play so hard under their coach. Good. It was unbelievable. It really is. And they played today at 4-10 against UCLA.
Yeah, no, that was a great win for ACU. And, Texas is that school that loves to talk about how much money they have and how glossy everything is and how, important everything is. And yet the meat of what they're talking about is not there. It's all kind of just talk and show, quite frankly. Their athletic department, outside of their, numerous swimming titles and things like that, the major sports have been very hit or miss. But that didn't stop, everybody from wanting to go put them in their Final Four about a week ago. Do we not remember that? Everybody talking up Texas. Hey, this is a team that's about to go on a run. They lost their first-round game to ACU. There's no team that gets overrated more.
Every time.
There's no program as a school that gets overrated more than Texas because they will be a preseason top 10-ish team next year in football. And you know what? Steve Sarkisian may get it right. But if people go, well, see, we finally got it right, that was after 10 years of getting it wrong just to say they could get it right eventually because it is Texas.
But they would be top 10 if Herman even was coming back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like it's total BS.
Because of a bowl game.
Right, so it's total BS that it's all just name value, and that's what it is. And people got caught up in the name, and I know they got caught up as well in Jericho Sims and Greg Brown and whatever. But, man, how about ACU with a nice wake-up call? I love to see it. Love to see, those kids having fun out there and being able to enjoy a big win like that. And if you're ACU, there's not a team other than, like, maybe if you could say, well, it would have been cool to beat Duke or, maybe – I don't know. There's not too many other teams. North Carolina or something like that. But you ask ACU, you could beat one team this entire tournament. Who would you want to beat? They'd probably say beat Texas because that's the one that's going to pay off the most for them. So an absolutely massive win for that program. And next year we'll go rate the Longhorns top 5 to start the year again and then do this all over again.
All right, Joe Golding, the head coach at Abilene Christian. Sonny Dykes is his brother-in-law. His father, two of his brothers, is a pool hall owner in Eufaula, Oklahoma. Joseph Griffin Golding Jr. became an All-American halfback at Oklahoma, played in the NFL, became a head coach. His other brother became a head coach at Wichita Falls when they had a great run in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, won 4 state titles, is in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame.
And they're all named
Joe. A lot
Joe.
of history, and they're all named Joe Golding. And he is right now the toast of Abilene Christian. That conference, and guess what? SFA plays well, and I know that's my alma mater, but they play well basketball. They're about to get into Billy Gillespie and Tarleton State, Abilene Christian, Sam Houston State's good, SFA's good, and they're about to get in the WAC together with others. It's going to be one hell of a conference, although we'll see what happened. So what's the biggest? That's the biggest upset to me. Is that the big? No matter what all the other ones, Oral Roberts or Ohio.
Oral Roberts is probably miscast as a 15 seed. Honestly, if you look what they've done the last 2 games, they're probably better than a 15 seed. Abilene Christian, they're a 14 seed. That's what they are. They won the game. What was this? 57-56?
53-52.
Yeah, 53-52. Yeah, they made that game. They had to win that game a certain way. That's exactly how they won it. And then, that to me is the biggest upset.
Lady Bears play tomorrow night against Virginia Tech at 6 o'clock after disposing Jackson State.
I'm going with Oral Roberts over Ohio State. I mean, that's a 15 over a 2. And I think to say it's ACU because they beat Texas is, again, doing what we were just talking about. It's it's Texas, so no, they're not on the level of Ohio State basketball. They pretend to be, just like they pretend to be on the level of Alabama football, but they're not. They're in pocketbook only. That's really what it is. It's pocketbook and history, and that's all they lean on.
Great point.
Yeah, it's Ohio State going down to Oral Roberts, but it's right up there. I mean, it's definitely in this state one that we're going to be talking about for quite a long time, I'd imagine.
NCAA women's tournament. Women play Virginia Tech tomorrow night. Wright State, the number 13 seed. You rarely see this in women's basketball. Just beat Arkansas. 66-62. Arkansas is one of the 2 teams that's beat Baylor this year up in Fayetteville. Remember that early in the year when they had a player go off for like 30 in that particular game. So congratulations to Wright State. That is the rarity and the exception. But, hey, women's basketball, we're starting to see that just a little bit more often.
So how many teams have their men and women in the Sweet 16?
Because
Arkansas obviously does not have that because their women lost, and they had the nice win over Tech. They're pretty good. That was an interesting game to watch. But, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
Well, the women just started, so they have right now there's 40-something teams still left. I have to look at that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true.
Michigan, I think Michigan does it. Now,
Michigan
Baylor,
not yet.
Huh?
Not yet for Michigan.
Oh, that's right. Well, and the women still have to, I think, win again tonight.
Don't piss off Will Wade. He'll never forget it.
Baylor football spring drills has opened, and we will have coverage every day this week. Grayson, Colt, Craig, Paul, me, Armstrong, all of us, Drake, J.D., whoever's involved will have coverage throughout the week. There will be access, which we had none of that last year because there were no spring drills. So opportunities to talk to coaches and players, and we'll have that for you throughout the week, including what we get from the weekend as well. So that's opening up. Our first access will be on Wednesday. Now, is there anything I have not mentioned? We'll get into the Deshaun Watson, the latest on that as that gets deeper and deeper. Here is one concern about Baylor football. Did you ever find that tweet I sent you, Armstrong, with Cayenne Roberts Day? Here's one of their top recruits.
I wouldn't call this a concern necessarily, but
I'm not saying it's a concern, but it's interesting. My recruitment is 100% open to any schools. I am committed to Baylor, but my recruitment is open. You know what? It's his recruitment. It's not mine. It's not yours. It's his recruitment, but that did seem a little bit like raise your hand, I want some attention. He's got the attention. He's got offers from everybody, right?
No, he's got some offer. He's not like a top 20 player in the country.
I'm not saying that.
I mean, he's not sitting there with offers from Ohio State and USC and every single team under the sun like a lot of people. But no, he's a pretty solidly recruited young man. He does have Bama, Kentucky, Missouri, Kansas. So, it's kind of a little mixture. But, yeah, obviously a really coveted guy, and he's from out of state. And, that's the thing is that anytime an out-of-state guy commits early, especially as early as he did, you think about it, It's been already a year since he committed, and he's still got, another – almost an entire year to go. If he signs in December, he's got another 9 months, so he'll have been committed for practically 2 years by the time he signs from a kid out of Missouri. That's the hard thing to balance when a guy like that commits, and you're like, oh, but it's 2021 or whatever the class we're in, 2022, and it's that far out, and he's out of state, and it's just like you celebrate it, but at the same time, it's like, man, you just. How excited do you get because it's so far out and he's so far away and there's so much time to have things go sideways. So I can't say that I'm surprised by him having interest or wanting to get some more interest. It does make me roll my eyes because it is, hey, look at me, please pay attention to me and please recruit me. And so, from my standpoint, it's like you're committed to Baylor, but your recruitment's open. So really you're not all that committed to Baylor. It's basically what I boil it down to. So he'll be a commit in name, and maybe he ends up signing in months and months from now. But if I'm them, I'm recruiting him heavily still, but also making sure I have a backup plan.
Is that a red flag?
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it a red flag. On a kid.
That's how I feel about recruiting.
I know.
Talk to me on signing day. That's when I honestly I'll be interested.
Statman, Sweet 16 bound Baylor defense getting closer to where it was before the 3-week pause. If Matthew Meyer and also Flagler score double figures, the offense will be difficult. If both of them do, Flagler and Matthew Meyer, then yeah, it's going to be hard to beat. Daniel said, by the way, that ACU Texas game, if you didn't see this, midway through the second half, Brock Cunningham committed a foul, landed hard. None of his teammates came over to help him out. This the ACU players. I think Shaka Smart, this is from Daniel, has lost his team. And then let's see, the 903, I think I did that. What game surprised you the most? We went into that. What are your positivity, what are your thoughts on Villanova? Villanova's a name brand. They're good. They've won 2 out of 4, but they lost their point guard, their star. But I heard Jay Wright last night after their win against UNT and Grant McCaslin say that they're starting to piece together to they've had time to formulate a little bit now, guys picking up roles they need to play. But Baylor obviously is the favorite in that game. And finally, here's another one. Getting a real, there's a signal issue from the 254. We'll see what we can do with you on that. All right, when we come back, Jerome Tang, from the emotions of closing out the win 3 days ago against Hartford and watching Paul Mills and Oral Roberts do what they've done, to this team and how they took on those. Remember what John Jacobs said, that much more confrontational last week. Jerome Tang discusses that, how the bench helped, Jared Butler foul trouble, and much more. This is SicEm365 Radio. Petty Clinic, lowt.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be. Comprehensive men's health care and low-T therapy, and also help with sleep apnea. At Petty Clinic, special treatment and interest that Dr. Petty has in testosterone replacement therapy, currently offering immediate same-day access for lab screening to help identify men in need. For example, low testosterone is common, occurring in 1 in every 3 men, often causing the following symptoms: loss of energy, fatigue, poor sexual performance, ED, loss of sexual interest, decreased muscle mass and strength, weight gain, extra body fat, depression, mood swings, poor sleep, insomnia, poor mental focus. Those who qualify for testosterone replacement therapy will be offered membership based on office visits, and you can do it virtually as well. But here's what you have to do. PettyClinicLowT.com. Go online or call them and tell them Smokey sent you, and he'll set you up. The office staff will set you up with blood work, lab work. Dr. Petty will see the results, see where your testosterone levels are, and if they're too low or really low, he'll put you in a program to help you become that high-performance man that you truly want to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs. Knowing you, that's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
With more than 160,000 alumni worldwide and counting, the Baylor family is growing. And through the university's expanded Baylor alumni program, the family is growing closer. With hundreds of local volunteers planning events in cities and towns around the country, you can gather with fellow Bears no matter where you are. So, get connected, get something started, get involved, and make plans to get together with Baylor alumni. Visit us at baylor.edu/alumni.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries, celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas. Our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trust the doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
During the President's Day event, Allen Samuels has special pricing on a new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited with values up to $3,250 or 0% for 72 months, plus $1,000 in combo cash. Or a 2021 Jeep Cherokee. The new Latitude Plus has up to $6,000 in total values or 0% interest for 72 months and $1,250 in combo cash. Allen Samuels award-winning customer service. The best place to find your next SUV. Located at 201 West Loop 340. Allen Samuels is your friend in the car business. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
This is SicEm365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The SicEm365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Baylor assistant head coach Jerome Tang, Baylor men's basketball in Indianapolis on SicEm365 Radio. How proud are you right now of what you saw your players, staff, the program take on last week and turn it into what you did this weekend?
Man, just proud, humbled, thankful, just joyed. I mean, just a bubbly inside right now, and just to see our young men, and we knew it. Well, I told you last time, if we can get some practice days, like we could fix some things and get back to where we were. But the great thing is, like, they're not satisfied with getting back to where we were. They want to keep getting better. I'll tell you, we did the Wisconsin scout. We went over, we practiced, we walked through, we guarded the actions, we did all those things, and came back and was going to have dinner that night at 7, the night before the game, and we're going to watch a little film and then let them go to bed. And Macy O.T. calls and says, "Hey, Coach, can we walk through the sets again and maybe walk through some that we haven't walked through yet?" And they just wanted more. They just wanted more. They wanted to do more. They wanted to be more locked in and more engaged. And I think you saw that. I hope that Baylor Nation saw that. In that first half, that was as good of a first half as we've played since, the second half against Texas.
Yeah, I tell you what, the defense was like you had 7 guys on the court. Which was most important when you had finally those practices? And now, Jerome, Coach Tang, you have more coming up, which means you could even twist it, turn it, tweak it even more, get better even more. Which was the most need at practice? The defensive rotations, the shooting. What was most important that you had to get done?
It was the defense. It was going back to the basics and having the time to build and just like put the pieces back together in a build-in format. This is what we do first. This is what we do second. This is what we do third. This is why we do what we do. This is where we need to be. Like just it was almost like having 2 days to put all the building blocks back together and rep it at a pace that allows you to win games. And like you can walk through some things, but that doesn't build muscle memory. You have to actually do it at game pace and have the offense going full tilt and have the defense going full tilt. And, and the guys were able to, just get back and build the identity of this is who we are and this is why we do what we do. And, it was so that was important. And now this week we're going to get, 2 or 3 practices in to where we can just focus on us and us getting better. And there's still some areas that we can improve. But I think the one thing is just the sustaining the focus. Because I felt like against Wisconsin, we went in at halftime and our guys knew we were going to win this game. They're like, oh, we're better than these guys. And they probably relaxed a little. And then Wisconsin made some adjustments that we had an answer for, but we didn't respond the way we needed to respond to, because we were on the verge of pushing that thing to 20. And then they went on a little run, which we knew they would because they're a great team and they're well coached. And I mean, they have older guys on their team and they didn't want to go home either. And so, but I felt like we could have expanded that lead by doing a few little things better. And we're going to be able to show the guys and they're going to embrace wanting to improve because that's the kind of guys they are. And we're going to get a little better this week.
How much, and I know that this is something that maybe people haven't noticed, I have, that in both the games you've played, and this is the men's tournament, and the depth, as we've seen, is just incredible, that you've been able to empty the bench at the end of both games. How much does that help morale, especially when you're out, you're isolated, you're away? Does that help a lot?
Well, it does, and you're just so thankful for the guys who are doing all that work behind the scenes and giving our starters the guys who play on the look that they need at a pace that they need to help us to be ready to play against a Hartford or Wisconsin. And what was really cool is that those guys went in the game and then afterwards, they came over and they were just thankful. Hey, Coach, thanks for getting us in the game, man. Thank you. And because I was messing with Mark Patterson, that I'm sorry I messed up his scoring average because we didn't put him in with enough time to get a shot up, and because he gets more buckets than any walk-on ever.
Yeah,
he is. And he was like, and he said, Coach, I'm just telling you, I didn't care. I was just so thankful to be in that game and just to get in, and so you're just. It just makes you feel good that you have those kind of guys.
Villanova, basketball tradition. Everyone knows what Jay Wright has done there back in the days of Rolly Massimino. You guys have met them recently. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? They were a veteran team, and now you're that veteran team, but they seem to maybe getting a little bit more used to the point guard being out and playing better. Your thoughts about them?
I've followed Villanova for years. I have a good friend named Chris Walker that played there way back in the day, and I remember Rolly Massimino beating my Georgetown Hoyas. Mm-hmm. That incredible game they played, and then obviously the recent history and success of Coach Wright, who's arguably the best dressed coach in college basketball, and what they've built there, and I'm thankful that we're all wearing like sweatshirts and stuff now because like he doesn't have that great of a separation from the rest of us with his attire.
He can look sharp, man.
He can. Nike has to send us the same stuff he's sending them, so we can be close. He might just look better wearing it than the rest of us, but when he wears those suits, he's got some suits that the regular guy don't have access to.
No question.
But their success, they've won 2 of the last 4 national championships. Just got a winning culture, and so tonight and tomorrow we're gonna start really paying attention to where they're at and what they're doing. I obviously watched the game because I was rooting for North Texas and for Grant McCaslin, and and just I saw some of that, and at the same time I was watching Paul Mills and Oral Roberts continue their run through the tournament. And so we'll get to Villanova. Coach just told us, hey man, let's just last night and today, let's just relax and clear our minds and stuff. So I don't have a lot of insight other than the history that I know about them, and I know we're going to have to play the best game that we've played all year long.
Did you get emotional when you saw what Oral Roberts did and then what Grant did the first round, and now here Paul Mills again? Hell, they're a win away, and so are you, from meeting each other. But has it been almost an emotional, like, flashback blur with all of the connections to Baylor and the success in the tournament?
Yeah, I've been an emotional wreck, Smoke. It's like 7. It's probably like a little bit before the 8-minute media, and something happens and Hartford calls a timeout, and or we called the timeout, and so everybody goes to the bench, and then up on the screen they're showing the Oral Roberts game, and it's like, holy cow, we're under the 4 minute, like a minute to go, and the score is tied or it's close and it's going into overtime, and then I think it's the overtime starts, and then they switch back, they take it off the screen, and all the Baylor fans start booing, right? Because they took the game off. And, we're up, and so our guys are out there, and then a foul takes place, and so now we go to the media, and, these medias are 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
They're long, and so they pop the game back on there, and now it's towards the end of the game, and Mills and them are going to win. And Smoke, I'm crying. Like, there are tears, because I'm thinking back 2003, 2004, we're in the office till 2 and 3 in the morning playing One Shining Moment. Coach Driscoll's and the boxers running around the office, and we're calling recruits and writing letters and all the things we're doing. But we're talking about, man, one day we're going to have our own program, and we're going to be in the NCAA tournament. We're going to win games. And you just see God doing this, and for your brother, and man, tears are running down my eyes. Mark Vidal has to hand me a towel, and they come out, and coach is trying to talk to guys in the huddle, and they're not paying attention to him. They're watching the screen, and he comes out, and he sees my face, right? And he's like, Mills won. And I said, yeah. And he goes, you're crying. I said, yeah. And then, later that night, Mac wins, and man, I just the love that I have for those guys and how hard I know they work and what great people they are, man. And you just see these good things happening for them. And man, I've been crazy. So I'm just tears of joy, though, man. I love those guys, and the way they made me a better man, a better husband, a better father, a better coach, just a better person. And living life with those guys has been unbelievable, and I'm just so thankful for the opportunity I've had to live life with them, and now to see the success that they're having, and because I know what kind of people they are.
Jerome, are you guys now back to, it doesn't mean it always works this way, but it seems as if you're back to dictating the tempo of the game. Is that something you've noticed in these two games? Even though there was Hartford for a while, and that's going to happen, and then Wisconsin the first 4 to 5 minutes, but do you feel like you guys are now starting to dictate and enforce yourself on the opponent?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when you're in conference, people have a plan because you play them twice and you know each other so well, and you watch everything. They have a plan to alleviate some of the things that you do. When you're in these type of settings where a team, Hartford had some time to prepare, and so it took a little bit longer. Wisconsin really didn't have a lot of time to prepare for us. Villanova will have some time, and so, we're going to have to have some answers for what they do. But, when teams don't know you that well and haven't seen what you do, then you're able to dictate a little bit more of what you want. And eventually your pressure gets to them, whoever it is. Eventually it gets to them. And we're at the place where, like, I feel like we are able to keep the pressure on people for longer periods of time.
Your bench, which had struggled, Matthew was, he's dynamic. He's, he's a heartburn pill away, but he was dynamic, and obviously Flagler kind of seemed like he's back in that rhythm. You and I talked about that last week, and Jonathan, foul trouble, but he seems to get his legs and his energy. Seems like he's back to racing up and down the court. How much does that relieve some of the pressure on everybody else that those guys are contributing again in different ways?
Yeah, no, it's terrific. And I think the last time we talked about how in the whole comeback from COVID, our starters were getting their minutes, and so they were able to get back in the groove a little quicker than the guys coming off the bench because their minutes were a little bit less. So it was going to take more games, but the practice sessions really helped those guys, and so that they were able to, get back more in a groove, and for teams to have to prepare for 8 guys and not just prepare for 5. Mm-hmm. It just makes such a difference. When you have, I think, we've had 6 guys on our team score 20 or more points in a game. And I think Mark had 19. So it would have been 7. And Jonathan and Flo, both scored double-figure points in a game. So teams, they got to prepare for every guy. And when you have to do that, you have to decide who it is that you're going to take away. And people always try to find out. For us, we try to find out who's the head of the snake. Because if you kill the head, the body dies. It's hard to figure out who the head of our snake is. And so, and then you get guys coming off the bench who, our team ramps up when they come in. We don't take a step back, and so it's a blessing, man.
Jared Butler, we know how amazing he's been, and he is. What's happened with him in foul trouble? Is it what's going on with that? Because obviously that can put you in a bind.
I think he's playing defense. When you play defense and you're trying to be aggressive, and you're trying to play with your chest, and you're trying to have active hands, you're gonna pick up some things. And so, and the more he does it, the smarter he's gonna get. What's been impressive is that he's been able to continue to play at a high level with fouls. Because he's good enough. We can play him in the first half with 2 fouls and not worry about it. We can play him in the second half for long periods with 3 fouls, and then with 4 fouls, we put him back in with 5 minutes to go, and he finished the game. And so, and the extra rest for Jared is not bad either. So, I don't think it's a lack of effort or a lack of focus or concentration. I think he's trying, and when you try, sometimes you make mistakes, or you get called for stuff at certain times.
Saw a lot of smiles the last couple of games. I know you guys have had an amazing run. Are you enjoying yourself? Are you smelling the roses, even though you have much more to do?
Hey, the blessing of the bubble, and I know they don't want to call it a bubble, but it is. The blessing of the bubble is that we didn't have to get on a plane after the win and fly back home, mm-hmm. and then you get to stay here, so you actually get a down day, a day to smell the roses, a day to smile and laugh and have a good meal last night, and just really absorb it, and then this tonight or tomorrow morning we'll say, okay, fellas, here we go. Let's move on. So that's the blessing of it, and so I am enjoying it. I wish my wife was in the bubble with me.
Yeah,
and that would be wonderful. And so, but other than that, life is great.
See you at the end of the week, man. Thank you, Jerome. Appreciate your time.
Sir. All right, be safe. Thank you.
Jerome Tang, Baylor assistant head basketball coach on SicEm365 Radio. That Gonzaga-Oklahoma game has gone final. We'll come back with that. And also what Gonzaga, by winning and reaching the Sweet 16, a group of teams they join when it comes to consecutive Sweet 16 appearances. Coming up next, also at 4:10, Evan Miyakawa on all the analytics and interesting nuggets about the tournament. And then we'll also hear today at 4:30 from ESPN College Game Day college analyst Seth Greenberg. This is SicEm365 Radio. Ideal MRI spoke with Dr. Rob Maxey earlier today, title sponsor of this show. Title sponsor of SicEm365 Radio. And then I spoke with him about some things that we have planned for later in the week. He said we want to be involved with that too. Ideal MRI can help save you a lot of money, hundreds and hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands, when it comes to the cost of an MRI that otherwise is on average $1,100 each time. Theirs is $497 or less every single time. And on top of that, they will help you with your insurance to see if there's a way to even offset more of the cost. Ideal MRI is located in the Central Texas marketplace. They have a state-of-the-art technology in an MRI machine that is as good as anything you could find, and they will get you the information you need about something that hurts, whether it's a muscle in your shoulder or something in your neck or possibly your ankle, knee, or elsewhere. And then have that information to you and then straight to wherever it needs to go, to your doctor, orthopedic surgeon, whoever it is, to make sure they also have the evidence of why you hurt the way you do. It's IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace, IdealMRI.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasonings, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The Sic'em365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
All right, finals today. Oregon knocked out number 2 seed Iowa 95-80. Luka Garza, who most likely will be player of the year across the board, 36 points, 9 rebounds, and in fact, some cases he's been named that. Iowa's out. And Gonzaga 87-71. They beat Oklahoma about the tip in about 15, 20 minutes. Abilene Christian and UCLA, a double-digit seed, will advance because that's an 11 against a 14.
Yeah, Gonzaga is, I think Baylor's about the only hope to beat them. And I don't know how much of a great matchup Baylor is. I know Gonzaga's, great shooters. Everybody on the team can score, and they've got good size. So, hopefully Baylor gets that opportunity. That's the game that everybody wanted to see that we haven't been able to see. And that's the game that a lot of people circled and said, well, we didn't get it the first time. Maybe we get in the championship game. But, I don't know about Baylor getting there. That Villanova game, you got to get past that one. I know that they'd got some help around them, though, that kind of eased the path a little bit. But Gonzaga's obviously got to, they've been set up since day one. That they're a good team.
Yeah, they're explosive. And I know you see some chatter about, when you hear the national analysts, I'm going to have Seth Greenberg ask him this question when we have him on about Gonzaga's defense, because they're known really for scoring a lot. But their defense sets that up like Baylor does as well.
And you don't have to play unbelievable, Virginia-level defense when you can score with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, they're good. They're exciting. They're fun to watch. And you know what? They've been a Cinderella a long time. But how about this step? They're the 4th program ever to reach 6 consecutive Sweet 16s, joining UCLA, Duke, and North Carolina. That's about as blue blood as you get right there. Gonzaga's won 25 games in a row by 10 or more points. Yes, their conference is not as competitive as some of the other ones, but you know what? When you do that and you follow up and you get six Sweet 16s, you're winning deep into it. Have they been a disappointment on occasion? Hell yeah. Who hasn't been? So that's that. Now, Ohio plays later on today, and we got to get to a comments or two from Davion Mitchell and also Scott Drew. You guys hear the story about Jason Preston at Ohio? He was a high school kid he had like 140-pound, 6-foot guard from Boone High School in Orlando. He scored 2 points a game as a senior. Did not get any scholarships at all. Went to, I think, UCF, Paul. Became a sports writer.
Like for the student paper?
Yeah, I guess. Bench warmer. He made the decision. He had to figure out, like me, when I realized I couldn't hit a real curveball. He then put up some Twitter highlights of like an AAU tournament that he went to. A coach at Ohio saw it and said he has unbelievable point guard instincts. He's now the star at Ohio. He went to, I forgot the name of the school, but he's now 6'4", 16 points per game. Among the top 10 nationally and assisted 7 per game. Scouts love his instincts.
Yeah, you know what? I officially don't like him.
Why is that?
I don't like anybody who hit their growth spurt after they were 18. Yeah. It's not right.
Can I not be cruel here?
It's not right.
It's coming, Paul.
It's not right. You're
another year or two.
I've been 5'10" and a half for like 50 years.
Yeah, I stopped growing when I was 12.
So you were pretty tall at 12.
Maybe.
That would suck to have like the tall 12-year-old.
I didn't get into his height for this reason.
I was in the damn front row of every school picture and Little League crap I was ever in.
And you weren't sitting?
I know what? No, I had to sit. Like I would sit on the ground. You sit in the ground Indian style. I tried. I snuck into one middle row one time.
In
the middle row. And here's this guy just sitting around. It's already 6 feet tall. Gets another 4 inches.
Yeah.
It's another 4 inches.
He's going to make a lot of money, too. The Hinkle Fieldhouse, where Baylor will play Villanova, where they just beat Wisconsin, it was constructed in 1928, the 6th oldest in-use basketball arena in the country. And that's where they'll play again. There's a lot of history there in Indianapolis. Jim Boeheim now has had... Let's see here. 5 times he's been a double-digit seed, a 10 seed or worse, and made it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I hate that because I don't really like Jim Boeheim all that much. And Syracuse is one of those teams that has a lot of media favor because half the media in this country graduated from Syracuse, and I'm exaggerating a tiny bit there, but most
Missouri
everybody,
or Syracuse,
every journalist went to Missouri, Syracuse, or somewhere like that. But you see a lot of the J school folks start talking around this time of year, and it's kind of annoying a little bit. But you got to give credit where credit's due, man. I mean, however you feel about Syracuse or Jim Boeheim or whatever, they're consistent.
Do you know who is in the media and doesn't like Syracuse? Those assigned to cover Jim Boeheim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They don't like him. In Salt Lake City a couple years ago, you have. And look, part of this is probably not completely fair to Jim Boeheim or anybody who'd be in a bad mood a little bit in a press conference and then get followed by Scott Drew. So Boeheim gets up there, they ask him some questions. He's grumpy and crabby, and he, stares down a guy he didn't like. And they had a player who was suspended, if you'll remember, in Salt Lake City, and he didn't want to talk about it at all. And then the sports writer who's doing it is like, look, I've got to ask you, man. Yeah. Like, he's not here. We know he's not here.
He's got that bully mentality.
Yeah, and so then, they have that whole we have this weird 7.5-minute press conference that kind of ended there. And then Coach Drew comes in, and short of making balloon animals for everyone, it was just joyful.
Balloon animals.
Yeah, and then there are people asking me and John Warner and Jerry Hill is like, is he like this all the time or just because it's the tournament? Like, nope, every day.
By the way, it's 3 times he's been a double-digit seed and has gone to the Sweet 16. Gonzaga has the record, actually, with 4 double-digit seeds reaching the Sweet 16. Here's a comment from Jim Boeheim. There apparently is criticism, of course, because he has not done well recently, despite his postseason success. I'm talking about during the regular season. This is offensive to anyone who likes to read on the internet or write. I don't hear it because it's from people that are inconsequential. They don't matter. Not one sentence on the internet matters, not one.
I mean, he's not wrong. I'm sure some sentences
if he said social media, then we might. All right, one other note. Porter Moser, who they won again, his record in the last 4 years: Final Four, NIT, tournament canceled, Sweet 16 plus at Loyola Chicago. They're fun to watch.
If I was Indiana, that's the kind of guy.
Yeah, I agree.
That's him.
NFL draft will be held in Cleveland. Wasn't it going to be in Vegas?
I think they're pushing back Vegas until they can actually do it.
Okay.
How Vegas
and they're
wants
going to have
do
fans, and there's going to be a little bit more openness than you might think. Of course, after last year, depends on which side of the fence you sit on. There'll be protocols, but that will be in Cleveland, the 2021 draft.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because I don't know what their setup's going to be, but even by then, I think a lot of people will be vaccinated, and that should be a bit more okay than normal. But in Nashville, I guess, when was that? Like 2 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago, yeah.
It was all outdoor for the most part, but it was still a big crowd downtown. Like, it was because it's the main Broadway strip where they've got all the bars with all
that was a massive, that looked like it was almost like a rally.
Yeah, it's like a Broadway area. I think it's actually called Broadway there in Nashville. It's pretty popular. So I don't know what Cleveland's plans are, but I have a hard time seeing that kind of a setup for the draft, no matter how far along the vaccinations are getting at that point, because that's like the presidential inauguration or something, just as many people packed in as possible. But it's good that they've got plans in place and that there's there's going to be spring ball starting up, which we didn't have last year, and that we've got a tournament on that we didn't have last year, and the draft was weird last year, but everything kind of starting to slowly get back to normal.
Select number of prospects, fans, media will be in attendance. Clubs will designate a number of draft ambassadors. Fans who get front row seats must be vaccinated, so they have to document that and wear masks. But they will have the draft. It will be in Cleveland, and so that's at least another, like weeds coming out of the grass, that some things are getting back to somewhat normal. And so is Baylor's defense. Now, they still have to tweak it again. They have almost all week to do it before Saturday with Villanova. Davion Mitchell, who was so explosive over the weekend, he was asked in the postgame after the win against Wisconsin about the defense getting back to normal.
Yeah, for sure. I think those practices before the tournament really helped us on our defensive. We really pride ourselves on just making things hard for other teams, giving ball pressure, not making them feel comfortable, making them keep dribbling the ball and not just be able to look. So I think we definitely are getting back to ourselves. There's a lot of things we got to work on. I mean, we're going to watch that in film and correct it for the next game, and we're just going to keep preparing for each game.
And if you didn't hear the Jerome Tang interview, that's up on Twitter. Also will be up in the premium section very soon. Some great insight on the last week as well. And Scott Drew about the nerves of the tournament and, you know, playing and playing free and easy and the pressure of the NCAA tournament.
No, I don't think anything relieves nerves during March Madness. I mean, nobody wants to stop playing. No one wants to go home. And in a quick prep, playing against an offense that you haven't seen and they run it so well, they don't beat themselves, a lot to be concerned about. But I think the preparation our guys put into the game is where the game was won for us. And hats off to, I mean, we have a player-led team. Those guys buy in. They were locked in, and that gave us a chance to be good today.
And then one of the things that we all complained about or concerned about, whatever, last week was bench points, right, guys? Mm-hmm. Last night, they ended up with 25 points off the bench, 17 by Prilosek, Matthew Meyer, and here's Scott Drew.
Well, Matt was huge with John in foul trouble, and again, you got to have depth and you got to have multiple scores. We have a lot of people who are capable of getting us 20, and it's not your night every night. Macio's been on a tear. Tonight he didn't shoot it as well, and that's the great thing of having depth, different people to pick players up, and we have guys that really do a good job creating for others too. So if they're not shooting, they can defend and they can help us in other ways.
Matthew Meyer it was just fantastic. There was this, you know, there's a little bit of that, but he was kind of reminded me of West Virginia. He came in, gave him a boost. They needed it. And so there's Scott Drew. There's Davion Mitchell. Coming up next, what are some of the interesting analytical data nuggets of the NCAA tournament, even with individual players or teams? Evan Miyakawa from EvanMiya.com is next on SicEm365 Radio.
March means it's time to celebrate 22 years of serving Waco and Central Texas with big savings on all cars and trucks on the lot at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. All 2021 Buicks have deep discounts. You can save $4,500 on a 2021 Buick Encore, $3,500 on a 2021 Buick Encore GX, or a 2021 Buick Envision. You can also save $6,000 off a 2021 Buick Enclave. Our qualified buyers can get 0% financing for 72 months. And if you want the best truck, you want a GMC. You can find savings like $8,000 off a 2021 GMC Sierra, or save $6,500 on a 2021 GMC Acadia or GMC Terrain. And Richard Carr Motors is your local family dealer that wants to earn your business with great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and priority warranty service on all vehicles purchased. So come by their clean and disinfected showroom to take a test drive, or let them bring the test drive to you. And right now during the big basketball tournament, come by and take a shot to win additional prizes. It's the big 22-year anniversary sales event going on now at Richard Carr.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness was built to help give you a chance to enjoy elite tennis facilities and also remain fit or reshape your body. Now Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness has gone through its own physical changes. There are 7 large flat screens stretched across the main and improved weight room with Wi-Fi available and their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports channels. The beautiful sound of active treadmills and elliptical machines, group exercise classes throughout each day, a new ballet bar for bar classes, a new look lounge and bar with beer and wine with more large flat screens available. Touchless water fountains outside each spacious men's and women's locker rooms, showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts and lessons for adults and juniors. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Also, Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. So start today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
March marks 22 years for Richard Carr Motors. Celebrate with big savings going on now during the anniversary sale event.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
We've sent the nomination forms to area high school counselors for the 11th annual Academic All-Stars team, and we will find 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. Hello, everyone. This is David Smoak. Our title sponsor is Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. The 2021 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation are 501c3. Nomination deadlines March 31st. We'll eventually announce the team on Monday, May 3rd. Honor them at our annual banquet on Wednesday, May the 19th. It's the 11th annual Academic All-Stars team highlighting the elite student athletes in Central Texas right here on SicEm365 Radio.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Meyer, he averages 8. He has a nice spinning move right there. Meyer has been terrific with 15 points, 5 of 10.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Oregon rolls, Gonzaga rolls, and now Abilene Christian and UCLA are on the clock about the tip in the East region. We're now joined by Evan Miyakawa, evanmia.com. And he's got some nuggets when it comes to players, teams, etc., data, trends, all of that, analytics, stats. Evan, thank you very, very much. Is there something in particular other than the upsets, the double-digit seeds advancing, anything in particular that's jumped out at you, or 2 or 3 notes that you've put up that you've seen from your analytics and stats?
Well, I think the biggest talking point, which is not really, it's been really talked about up to this point, is how well the Pac-12 has done. I think it's been more difficult this season than in other seasons to really be able to measure how strong each conference is, just due to the lack of cross-pollination, if you will, between teams in different conferences due to non-conference play. But the Pac-12 has really shown up so far. I think they're 7-0 so far in the tournament, with the latest win being Oregon over Iowa. A huge upset in many people's minds, but Oregon has an opportunity to potentially play USC if USC can knock off Kansas tonight. And they could almost have a battle for the Pac-12 to play Gonzaga in that Elite Eight matchup. So that, to me, has been the most intriguing storyline so far. Obviously, Oregon State as well, getting into the Sweet 16 also.
What do you think the Big Ten's issue has been?
I don't know. I can't really put a finger on it. I feel like each case is a little bit different, but it's certainly been a really disappointing showing. I think a lot of people are throwing around theories at this point. I mostly just chalk it up to luck, if I'm being honest with you. Certainly, you could make a statement that the conference was slightly overhyped coming into this tournament just due to the number of teams that they had, 4 teams in that top 2 seed line. But, it's just so hard to win games in March, and especially with the unique circumstances of this tournament. I just think there's probably been some bad luck in there, but certainly it's not been a great showing for the Big Ten.
Evan, I know that you had to have had a 14 versus an 11 at this point in your bracket, right? Good old ACU and UCLA, which just tipped off.
Hey, I will tell you that it's very hard to predict results in this tournament, but Abilene Christian upsetting Texas was the one unlikely upset that I actually thought had a very good chance of happening. All Saturday I was telling people that I thought ACU was going to beat Texas. They pulled it off, and I have them with a 40% chance of knocking off UCLA tonight. So here's to hoping some more brilliance from Abilene Christian.
So I saw some things that you popped out the last couple of days or so. The Pac-12 teams have now beaten the following conferences. The Big Ten, the Big 12, the SEC, the Big East, the West Coast Conference, and the Missouri Valley Conference. We talked about that earlier. Is it something that we put too much emphasis on the regular season? Because isn't that what we're supposed to put the emphasis on?
Yeah, it's really hard to say. I mean, if Colorado upsets Florida State, they'll add the ACC to that list, and you could even throw the Atlantic 10 in there if you count VCU, not playing that game versus Oregon. So it's just been mind-boggling to me how well they've done, but it's clear that the level of competition in that conference was a lot higher than a lot of people thought. I think perhaps the fact that people can't view as many of those games or just due to time zone differences, it was off people's radar a bit. I think there's a lot of bias, really, when people are making their brackets just based on teams they've watched. I think that's certainly the case even for myself. So give the Pac-12 credit. They're really showing out.
Let's not talk about if scary things happen, Evan. I don't need that emotion in my life right now. But are there any, giant statistical anomalies that jumped out at you?
I think the big one and a huge talking point has been Loyola Chicago. They were definitely underseeded based on their talent. My site, along with many others, saw them as a top 10, top 15 team. And obviously they weren't necessarily a favorite in that game versus Illinois, but either way, one of those teams was bound to lose to the other. And Loyola now has a really, really realistic chance of getting to the Final Four. And it's been noted before, they're much better than the team that made the Final Four when they last did. So they have a realistic shot, obviously playing Oregon State on Saturday, and then the winner of either Houston or Syracuse. So to me, that's a big talking point. If they had been seeded more correctly, maybe in that 5-6 range, perhaps them and Illinois would still be alive at this point.
Evan, how shocking is Oral Roberts beating Ohio State and then beating Florida to get into the Sweet 16?
It has certainly been one of the biggest upsets. I didn't give them a huge chance of winning either of those games. But with that being said, Max Asmith has the highest offensive rating of any mid-major player in the country at my website. So seeing the way that he is balled out along with Kevin O'Banner, they look good enough to play with any team. And now they're playing an Arkansas team that they've already played before. They were up by 10 after the first half in that game previously this season. It's not going to be much of a mystery or a shock to them. They've already played Eric Musselman's team before, so I think they have a decent chance of getting to an Elite Eight. It's really, quite astounding to say, but who knows? Maybe they could match up, Paul Mills versus Scott Drew in the Elite Eight.
All right, Evan Miyakawa. It's Evan Miya, MIYA.com, who got some national attention over the weekend. Charles Barkley, who I love listening to, watching. He's a mess, and you just got to take him the way he is. But Evan tweeted about Charles Barkley's Final Four, and Armstrong, if you would, put that up on the screen. This is Charles reacting.
I couldn't get it out, Ernie. Total anguish. Yeah, I have the same Final Four as Charles Barkley. Now I have to rethink everything. You still got time. Come on, Ed. You got to have him in by noon tomorrow, as a matter of fact. By the way, Texas Southern has ripped off 11 straight points to start the second half.
So for those that don't know, they flashed up the graphic of Evan's tweet saying, oh my gosh, I have the same bracket as Charles Barkley. I have to rethink everything. And Charles got to react to it for those who aren't watching us right now.
He did. He had just eaten something too quickly and was about to have it come up the wrong direction.
I think he was doing the tweet, the Michael Scott no. I think that's what.
So Evan, how much attention did you get? Because I got to be honest with you. Just a couple of months ago, I had just kind of gotten to know you. Armstrong had mentioned it. We saw you on Twitter with some of the data, and you've been on SicEm365 Radio a lot. But I mean, how much love did you get?
Oh, that was really funny. I didn't see it in real time, but I had some people on Twitter, including friends of mine from Baylor, see that and talk about it, and then someone was able to find the clip, and that was just really hilarious. Right after the call, Charles Barkley called me up personally and convinced. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wow, really?
Yeah, I need him to get you to. I'll need to get him. Ian Fitzsimmons would know him, obviously, from his time at Auburn, and I'll see if even Ian can try to get you a text from Charles.
I just imagine Ian, that's terrible. You should not talk about me like that.
Charles is great. Ian, Evan, excuse me. I got to ask you what you think about Baylor through a couple of games now. Obviously, their path is not quite what we expected it to be thanks to a lot of these upsets, but Villanova up next for them. How are you feeling about the Bears?
I think they're back to pre-COVID form, especially on the defensive end. I mean, the way that they clamped down on Wisconsin, and then, obviously you're always going to have someone different for Baylor step up and have the big game. Versus Wisconsin, it was Matthew Meyer, and then Davion Mitchell, just an incredible game. So I think they're looking in good form, and I think they've got a good chance of beating Villanova. You can never look past Jay Wright. He's an amazing coach, but especially with Ohio State getting knocked off, and you never know how the Arkansas or Roberts game will turn out. I've got Baylor with over 60% chance to make the Final Four at this point. So not a lock by any means, but their path is looking good.
Hey, they're in it. They're in the Sweet 16, Villanova Saturday afternoon. There's a couple of notes, I believe, from Evan. Chris Duarte is only one of 5 players since 2002, averaging 16.5 points, 1.9 steals per game while shooting over 52% from the field and 43% from threes. He's a former JUCO player from Oregon. Also, I mentioned Jason Preston from Ohio. He's only one of 2 players in the last 20 years to average 16.5 points, 7 assists, and 6.5 rebounds a game. And he used to be a journalism major, or wanted to be. And Evan Mobley of USC playing tonight, only player in 20 years to average 16 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 2 assists per game. So a lot of notes. That's what you get from Evan Miyakawa. Evan, we appreciate your time, man. Enjoy the rest of the tournament. We'll have you soon.
Sounds good.
Evan Miyakawa, M-I-Y-A, Evan M-I-Y-A on Twitter. He is fantastic, and we appreciate his knowledge. When we come back, speaking of which, the insight from one of the best of the business, College Game Day, Seth Greenberg, ESPN, next on SicEm365 Radio. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, spoke with Ted Teague earlier today. He's going to be a part of the championship drive when we cover parts of the tournament coming up this weekend in Indianapolis at Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Repeat, Motor Trend Truck of the Year, talking about the Ram truck. Ram Truck Month continues back to back to back. New 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab. Total values of $7,000. Or 0% financing for 84 months. The Jeep Celebration Event. New 2021 Jeep Cherokee Latitude Plus, $6,000 in total values or 0% financing for 84 months. Or the new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, up to $5,500 in total values, 0% for 72 months. And then also, by the way, $1,000 combo cash, or the new 2020 Jeep Renegade Latitude, total values of $7,250 or 0% financing for 84 months. There's the Dodge Performance Days that continue as well, including the 2021 or the 2020 Dodge Charger SXT 6170 or $3,000 combined cash plus 0% for 72 months. Those are just some of what you see on the lot. Go on Alan Samuels, DCJ.com. Ted Teague and the great friends there. Oh, my good friend AJ, the great salesman who sold me the car I bought back in July at Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel at the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, and Balcones whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, rye, brimstone, and the all-new lineage in stock. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's time to fire up the grill, heat up the oven, or get that deep fryer going to enjoy the top quality products at Waco Custom Marketplace. Order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. Pick up on Friday afternoon after 2 or Saturday. Enjoy the weekend. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish available right now for $4.25 a pound. Find all the crawfish boil ingredients you need, including red beef potatoes, sausage, corn cobbettes, and Louisiana boil seasoning. Make your order for live crawfish by Wednesday at 6. Pick up on Friday after 2 or all day Saturday, and enjoy the weekend. Waco Custom Marketplace, your home for fresh baked kolache, cinnamon rolls every day. Butcher shop to cut your steaks the way you want. Fresh seafood, summer sausage, boudin, house cured and smoked bacon, spices, seasoning, soup mixes, and more, and weekly gift boxes for any occasion. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. Are you a SicEm365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at SicEm365.com.
Seth Greenberg has been incredible for us. ESPN College Game Day, college basketball analyst. Joins us on SicEm365 Radio. Seth, thank you very much. I want to start with an NBA note because I saw your note about Elgin Baylor. I'm old enough to have watched him, know how dynamic and unbelievable he was. He was overshadowed quite a bit. Your thoughts about Elgin Baylor?
Yeah, he was my favorite player. My dad obviously was a big Elgin Baylor fan, and I even like when he had that little head shake. I used to do that before I shot my free throws. That's how big a fan I was. I mean, he was ahead of his time. He was a physical specimen, world-class athlete, tremendous teammate, had a knack for making plays. And, he was just, to me, when I watched him, it was just so graceful.
Seth, to the tournament now. Gonzaga wins, just rolled today. Is there a way to beat them? Because it seems to me like even an off day for them would be 77 or 78 points.
Yeah, they're going to score it. I mean, they're going to drop 80 off the bus. But yeah, I think again, your team in specific is the team I've been talking about all season long. You got to be able to guard the ball. You've got to be able to. Your bigs have got to be able to move their feet. You've got to be able to do a good job in defensive transition, containing the basketball in their flow. So the thing about Gonzaga that makes them so different is their flow from transition game into their half court offense. There's no reset. So you've got to be engaged from the second they get the ball, whether it's off a steal, a deflection, a rebound, or a made shot. They come at you warp speed, but the ability to guard the ball, not have to overhelp. And then the next thing you got to be able to do is you got to be able to defend Kispert at the 4 spot. And I think that's another thing that in the area where, Baylor has a chance, whether it's Mark Vital or whether it's, when they go a little bit of a smaller lineup, and it's Matt Meyer who, by the way, we've dubbed Matt Meyer Matt Ellis, because every time Matt comes in the game, Lorenzo screams and yells, he's going to be an NBA player. He's going to be an NBA player. Boy, was he good the other day. But I think you guys match up really well with Gonzaga. I think because of your ability to defend the ball one-on-one. And, no one guards the ball on the perimeter better than Baylor. I mean, it's just plain and simple, whether it's Jared or Davion or even Flagler and Maceo. I mean, and then you throw in Matt, his length and his dynamic ability to score, and obviously, Mark and his ability to move his feet and help in switching ball screens. I think Jonathan Chamochachua's feet defensive transition, containing the ball, and in ball screens is phenomenal. So we all wanted to see that game. We didn't see it during the regular season. Hopefully we'll see it, at the Final Four.
Well, Seth, the Bears are playing more up to the level that people expect. What'd you think of, they dismantled Hartford, which was expected, but the 13-point win over Wisconsin yesterday?
Yeah, a hard team to defend, especially a hard team to defend because, let's face it, Wisconsin plays so different than anyone else they would have faced in the Big 12. That's just the way it is. They invert their offense, they space you out, the swing, you're defending all different kinds of screens, back screens, up screens, flare screens. It's very, very choreographed, but there's a lot of read and react to it. And then, you're talking about a Wisconsin team that doesn't turn over yet. You guys turned them over because you were so active defensively. You're talking about a Wisconsin team that takes you off the glass, takes you out of transition, but you guys were able to do that. So that was really impressive. And, I was not one to buy into the whole, oh, my God, they're not right. They're coming off a pause. Guys had the virus. It takes time to get your feet underneath you. It takes time to get your legs back. You don't just flip a switch. But I saw enough good things, and and you're playing in the Big 12. So I saw enough things where I didn't overreact to the way they were playing. In fact, I went on our game day show and just said, look, now they had the undefeated season going. They lost that. Now what they need is a new goal. They need a new cause. What's the new cause? The new cause is the NCAA tournament. So I didn't overreact to what happened them coming off the pause because they do have terrific perimeter defenders. They're going to play hard. They have the best backcourt in college basketball. They're going to share the ball. No one's going to be selfish. They have guys coming off the bench that can make shots and make plays. So I never overreacted to them struggling, but maybe not as alert defensively. Their attention to detail wasn't as good. They weren't as locked in. They need to get in the gym. They need repetition. We all need repetition. Like when Virginia had 7 days off, there was no chance they were going to play the way they normally were playing because you just need. Basketball is a game of repetition.
Seth, I had a chance to speak with Jerome Tang at Baylor up in Indianapolis earlier today, and he mentioned how that extra time last week they could work on themselves. And now the benefit of whatever you want to call it, the bubble or being in Indianapolis, they get to focus on themselves again for another couple of days, and then Villanova. As a coach, as a former coach, how huge is that they have another week to do that because they survived the weekend?
It is absolutely huge. It's something I used to always talk to our guys about. You get in league play, and it's game. It's prep. What are we going to give? What are we going to take away? Where's our matchup? But you're not getting into the gym working on the fundamentals, closeouts, helping recover, rotations, waiting on a screen, being shot ready. You're getting shots up, but it's just different because you go back when you have 2-3 days. You go back and you have a checklist of things, right? Basically defines who you are and how you are. What are the essentials that makes us good defensively? What are the essentials that makes us good offensively? And you go back to those fundamentals because the game is a game of passing and catching. The game is a game of being in a stance. You can't guard unless you can close out. It's just the way it is. You can only be so good. You can't guard unless you can stay in the stance on and off the ball. You can't guard unless you have active hands. And those are all things that you drill in the preseason to give you that identity that, makes your defense good, that they're so good at. So being back in the gym is absolutely imperative and getting back to your fundamentals. I used to have this saying with our staff all the time. Some would say, we got to go back to the fundamentals. Why do you ever leave the fundamentals? Well, you leave the fundamentals because you're preparing for so many games that there's only so much that you can do in practice because you don't want to over-practice your guys because you want your best effort in the game. So I think Coach is 100% right. I think it's so valuable this time of the year.
How valuable is it, and this is strictly a hypothetical because it's never been like this before, but that these teams that are in the Sweet 16 don't have to get on plane, fly back, stay for 2 days, get hyped up around their school and hear how great they are and do random media requests, that they can just stay and all practice and focus on them and not have to worry about what's going on back in the hometown?
Yeah, I think there's a positive to that for sure. I would say the negative to that is it's I saw it on the Big Ten. I mean, they did the Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis. So those teams, the Big Ten teams, they've been there for almost 2.5 weeks already in a hotel room. So, but I do agree that the lack of, we saw it in the NBA bubble, the lack of travel, it levels the playing field a little bit, because teams that have to travel longer distances, but the lack of travel, I think will create better basketball because you're exactly right. It saves you 2 days. It saves you your travel day home, and then it saves you your travel day to your next destination, which is really valuable. I mean, you talk about 2 full days. Even if you work out at home and then get on the plane and fly to your next destination, it's still really, really valuable.
Seth, were you expecting this kind of performance from the Pac-12?
Not completely. To be honest with you, I mean, Oregon State's been fun to watch. I actually text back and forth with Wayne today, and the interesting thing is all the guys that I speak to in that league, they say the same thing: having a blast coaching this team. So they must have really, really good. Like I talked to Vic the other day. He loves his team. He loves his kids. He loves being around them. He loves that they care about each other. Same thing with Coach Pickell today. He said the same thing. Now, Oregon. I early in the season, I had Oregon as a tough out. Their style of play is so conducive to the NCAA tournament, similar to like what Syracuse's style of play is. You can't simulate the extended zone. You can't simulate the changing defenses. You can't simulate those things, and that's how you create upsets. Play a different style and impose your identity on the game. So, I think that the Pac has done a really good job. Now, let's be honest. I mean, Oregon has 2 wins. Today was an upset, but most of the wins in the Pac were teams that were seeded above. Were predicted to win.
We have Abilene Christian's down now a little bit to UCLA by 7 or so. Ohio, Oral Roberts, UCLA, Syracuse, Abilene Christian, Loyola Chicago. Some of these teams, I mean, not all of them are double digits, but a lot of them are. Is that any particular reason why more this year than ever?
Well, I think, first of all, the Power 5 double digits, I don't even count in a lot of ways because they've proven they can beat these teams in conference play. That's how they made their way into the tournament. Obviously, the Abilene Christians and Oral Roberts, all right, what do they have in common? Different style of play. Different style of play. I'm watching Abilene Christian play now. What they're doing is they're getting used right now because Mick's doing a good job of creating mismatches and spacing. But they have a style of play that it levels the playing field. They make you react to them. And we saw it with Texas and Abilene Christian. We've seen it with Oral Roberts, with Max Asmus and O'Banner. I mean, those are good players, but it's how they play, the freedom they play with, and their style of play. That's the art of the upset. Own the tempo and the rhythm of the game. Limit your turnovers. Limit your second chance opportunities that you're giving up. Have someone step up. If you look at Abilene Christian, if you look at Oral Roberts, even you look at Loyola in a lot of ways, that's what they've been able to do. All different. Loyola does it with tempo, does it with their defense, does it with creating a unique player in Krautwig, where ORU does it with pace, does it with a dynamic guard, does it with a big guy who can step out, and they fly around defensively. And Abilene Christian, you can't simulate what they do defensively. They're doubling and they're rotating and they're blitzing and they're switching and they load to the ball. But in the end, I would not be. I'll be shocked if I don't see, a good majority of the teams we would say, yeah, that makes sense. The Baylor's, Gonzagas. Maybe LSU could pull off a win today, but that wouldn't be. They got 3 NBA players. I mean, that wouldn't totally shock me.
Seth, with Texas falling to ACU, fans who are watching their teams lose are for the most part going to be upset about it, but a lot of complaining about Shaka, as you might imagine. What do you think about the quick exit for Texas, given the expectations?
Yeah, people are going to be disappointed. Fan is short for fanatic, whether they're at Baylor, whether they're at Texas, or whether they're at Illinois, or whether it's Ohio State. So people are going to be, lose their minds. Here's the deal. The other guy's trying to win also. Obviously, they're disappointed. Their backcourt all season long was inconsistent. Let's be honest. I mean, there was, the good Texas backcourt and the bad Texas backcourt. Sometimes it showed up in the same game. But I thought they had they were Big 12 Conference champions in the tournament. They had a good year. They did not handle their backcourt. Was awful. against Abilene Christian. They got sped up. They weren't right. They did, look at the number of turnovers. I mean, I think it was 20, 23, 25 turnovers. I mean, but they had the ability to have that happen to them, because you saw them all season long. They were a very emotional group, and sometimes when you're over emotional as a player, you play for both teams, and that's kind of what they did. They played too phonetically, and they lost their I'd say their balance, and that happens sometimes. And it's unfortunate because Shaq is a good man, and he's a good coach. That things obviously things didn't work at the end of the season, but it surely worked out in the Big 12 tournament, and they were really good defensively. But I think that once, it's like anything else, if you're not scoring, it impacts your defense, and they lost their poise, which is rare. But I mean, which is not rare for that backcourt, not the team, but the backcourt.
You are a pizza. I know you. We got to move on with you as well, because I know you got other things to do. What you're a pizza expert. Which is your favorite pizza and why, and what kind?
New York City, thin crusted, a little crispy. On any street corner.
God, I love it.
You got to fold it. If you can't
crispy.
fold it over a little bit, right? Then it's not New York style pizza. I mean, people get this wrong.
Here's the thing: you don't eat it with a fork. You just pull it out, fold it, and stuff.
Just go.
I mean, I like to every once in a while a little piece of Sicilian, but I'm not into just the Chicago deep dish. I know that's sacrilegious, but when you grow up in New York, any street corner, a little crispy because it's been sitting there for a while, throw it in the oven, get it a little crispier. Just cheese. I'm not pineapple. No, pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. That's just if I want a barbecue chicken pizza, a California pizza kitchen, that's not pizza. That's like a meal. A flatbread isn't pizza. Pizza is thin crusted on a big old plate with a bunch of cheese. It has to be greasy, and it's got to be a little crispy.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Seth, seriously, you have been more than kind. You've been on with us many times, and I appreciate it so much. Good luck the rest of the tournament, and we'll hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Be safe.
Seth Greenberg, he's part of ESPN College Game Day with Jay Billis, who was on with us a couple of weeks ago. Reese Davis, of course, who does an amazing job. And then LaFonso Ellis, who's become a huge Matthew Meyer fan. Appreciate that.
I don't like deep dish. I don't either. I'm not a fan of deep dish pizza.
Chicago pizza is so full. It's too much.
Well, but it's
like it's too much. It's like soggy.
You know what? I'll tell you. The only thing, like if a Chicago pizza's around, I just need one bite so I can taste the sauce.
Yeah.
Like almost just like that's all I need, and then that's it.
I'm a thin crust, and a lot of times I want it a little bit extra crusty as far as the cooked. I don't want to. And I understand when you're in New York, you got to get one that folds over like it's a wallet. I get that.
Well, that's what I like. Yeah, I like the thin crust. A little grease, like he said, pizza. Now I got a ton of topping. Like I'll try some of those types of pizzas, like a California chicken pizza, but he's right. Like this barbecue chicken pizza, that's not pizza. I mean, it isn't, but it isn't. So
all I know is whatever I order for this place, whenever I bring pizza in, we go to Marcos, one of the great sponsors, and Bob Mock. I do know that nobody ever goes and runs away from it. That's for sure. No. Real quick note from Armstrong on Jordan Spieth He's Armstrong's love child. And it threw me a note. Jordan Spieth revealed that he has had not a lot of success. He played a little bit better earlier this year, but he hasn't been able to finish. He has a broken bone. Is a bone chip, Armstrong? Is that right? That's in his wrist? I know you would know exactly. Did you get the doctor's report from him? Did you talk to him today?
I'm not yet. But, there was a bone chip in his hand, and he elected not to get surgery, and then it kept bothering him. And
I can imagine that. Yeah, it's kind of like any kind of chips in if you have a bone chip and your rattles around, sometimes it gets stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope he's been playing better this year, though.
Yeah, he has. And apparently it was messing with his grip, and then that bad play from that then spiraled him down into a real slump.
Stunning with him is that he hits the ball. He really, a Tiger always used to block it way. It was like every time he's hit the whoa, and he'd give you that body language, but he would find a way. Mm-hmm. Jordan hits the ball a lot right. He does under pressure or not. All right, coming up next, the Lady Bears have Jackson State under their resume. Now it's Virginia Tech, the number 7 seed. A couple of comments from Kim Mulkey about San Antonio. We'll have Jason King on Baylor basketball at 5:30 and Colt Barber on the Baylor football team opening up spring drills and some thoughts about the depth chart next on SicEm365 Radio.
Ram Truck Month means special pricing on new Ram trucks at Allen Samuels. The 3P Motor Trend Truck of the Year, Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab, has special values up to $7,250 or 0% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in combo cash. Visit the customer award-winning Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, for the 3-time Motor Trend Truck of the Year, Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab. Ram Truck Month is going on now at Allen Samuels, your friend in the car business. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Born in Waco, Brotherwell Brewing exists to serve the Central Texas community with locally crafted beer of the highest quality. They want to bring Central Texas closer to the brewing experience so everyone can enjoy well-made beer as much as they do. For 2.5 years, they've been bringing high-quality beer to Central Texas at their location on Bridge Street in East Waco. Brotherwell Brewing believes in community and bringing people together to enjoy products made in their community. So for your game day, whether it's a tailgate or at home, stop by Brotherwell Brewing for high-quality craft beer made right here in Central Texas, 400 East Bridge Street, and check them out online at brotherwell.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
At Baylor University, students can shine in their own way. Or should we say their own ways? Because there's no limit to the ways Baylor students make the world a brighter place. Whether they're leading a student organization or following a higher calling, getting advice from faculty, or taking part in world-class research, pursuing their dreams, or working toward their dream job, students find their place to shine at Baylor, where lights shine bright.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
The SicEm365 Radio Live Guest VIP Hotline is sponsored by Stonewood Dental. We are all in this together.
Really appreciate Seth Greenberg. We've had him, I think, at least 3 or 4 times since really college basketball began, and he was one of those early guys. And Jay Billis, LaFonso Ellis appears to try to take away the president of the Matthew Meyer fan club. Now, the Lady Bears, they destroyed Jackson State. That's not a surprise. You expected them to do that. They are into the round of 32. They'll play Virginia Tech tomorrow. Virginia Tech's 15-9. First time they've ever met. Tip at 6 o'clock. The game will be on ESPN2. And, Paul, I mean, again, we saw earlier someone stunned Arkansas, which is the rarity. But women probably are starting to have that happen more often. But Baylor should roll into the regional and then, or into the regional quarterfinals, I guess you would say. What would that be?
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. And then the UConn is on the horizon if they keep winning. Tennessee, which came back and won big yesterday, is that possible third-round match. So, yesterday they won big. I have nothing to ask about Jackson State. So I asked Kim Mulkey about, here's my question. Start with my question with her.
Yep.
Here's my question to Kim at the very end of her presser.
Yes, David Smoak, SicEm365 Radio. Kim, do you even feel, you've been in regional tournaments, Final Fours forever. Do you feel like you're in a tournament setting? Do you feel that right now?
No, I don't. And that's because you don't have fans here. You know how many people would be over here at the Alamo Dome if they were allowed. All we have in the stands are our pass list, family and friends that we can put on a pass list. We don't even have all of our administrators here. We don't have y'all here. Y'all know how much I miss and love y'all. Y'all really aren't even here. So no, it's different. Different is the best description I can give, but nonetheless, we are playing, and we didn't get that opportunity a year ago, and it's different.
And then I guess to follow it up, thank you, is that you said you didn't play it a year ago. Do you embrace today? Did you kind of embrace the moment a little bit differently?
Oh, well, I embrace it internally. And you mentioned things to the team. You mentioned those 4 seniors. You mentioned, there's no promise tomorrow. We don't know what the next COVID test is going to bring. So they understand it. We don't harp on it and we don't dwell on it, but you use it as motivation.
All right, that's Kim Mulkey, and we will use that for the rest of eternity.
You miss us.
I miss us.
You miss us. I'm not saying she's lying.
Some of the best parts of a Kim Mulkey post-game press conference or any kind of media session. Guys, this is what you need to report and talk about and write about. And it's because she's trying to get someone to report or write about something in particular that she might be doing for not mind games by any means, but because a player is played well and she's not getting enough attention or whatever it might be. So she didn't mean it, though, because she didn't think Paul was going to be a part of this show when she said that she misses the media. Did not mean that at all. Mrs. Craig, maybe even me, but not you.
I'll tell you.
No, Bowling Green doesn't count anymore.
No, that bonded us forever to go to one of the worst places in Ohio.
Which is saying a lot.
Well, it is. Holy cow. I drove, I kind of wanted to start a fund for people to move to another city. Driving around, you just see their faces like, hey, there's something outside of here. Why don't you guys go to Cincinnati? Just see how that is.
Some Skyline chili.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who played yesterday? Played pretty well. Jordan Oliver. Tall, angular, just a raw freshman. She was in the video. Armstrong, I know this is a Hail Mary here. The Baylor Lady Bears on Twitter at Baylor WBB, right? Mm-hmm. There's a picture, a video. They're inside this huge convention center hallway, whatever it is. And Dejanay Carrington was throwing a football to Jordan Oliver, who looked the part as a wide receiver. Look at this. Over the shoulder. And, I mean, look, I'm not so sure I'm more impressed with the catch or the route or the throw.
Let's run this back. First of all,
look at this
just
throw.
Torches the defender. Which I guess is Nalissa Smith. Is that Nalissa Smith?
I don't know.
Well, first thing we should explain for Baylor football fans, that's called a deep pass.
Correct. Yeah. I don't know who that is.
Good throw, too.
It was a beautiful
throw. Separation, full arm's length, right at the point of attack.
Speed with the ball in the air.
Defender got all crossed up.
Yep.
So that's good route running. That's good vision by the quarterback.
And, of course, who's there to celebrate?
D.D.
Richards. Baylor plays tomorrow night, 6 o'clock against Virginia Tech. The Baylor men will play, or basketball will play at 4:15 on Saturday?
Yep.
Is that right, the start time against Villanova? All right, when we come back, we've got some good stuff coming up. Baylor spring drill's opening up this week. First time under Dave Aranda because last year we got nuked. And Colt Barber digs into the depth chart. He had a story today in the premium section. We'll kind of nibble on that a little bit. And then Jason King, college basketball analyst, SicEm365.com at 5:30. This is SicEm365 Radio. Waco Custom Marketplace right here in front of me. You know, last week they had specials on the ribeye and the New York strip and even St. Louis ribs, the style ribs. I went in there last week and the butcher shop. And I have some bone-in ribeyes, and I have some big, thick bacon-wrapped fillets. But I walked in the door, and I said, hey, I want you to get me a ribeye that's not one of those tomahawk chop-type levels where they got the big bone where it looks like a hatchet. I said, this is what I want, and I gave him the kind of the parameter. He goes, you sure you want it that thick? I said, yeah, because I'm going to reverse sear it. And it was fantastic. It was so good. What I like about Waco Custom Marketplace is, first of all, you can go in there and you can get what you want, ordering online, calling them ahead of time, dropping by, and you can get what you want when it comes to the cut of whatever beef you want. Or if you want chicken, pork, and seafood as well. They're so friendly. I mean, it's truly like, it's like back 30, 40, 50 years ago when you had the hometown grocery store. And in some places you still have that, but we have it right here. If you live in Waco with Waco Custom Marketplace, and the Bauer family, we know how much we love them and what they do. Fresh baked bread, kolaches every morning. Bakery that's always trying to do whatever you need them to do, whatever order it is or special event. And then, of course, yes, the live crawfish, $4.25 a pound, 30-pound sacks of live crawfish. These are dudes now, available for a boil coming up this weekend. Order your 30-pound sacks of live crawfish by 6 on Wednesday. You can pick it up by Friday at 2, after 2, or anytime on Saturday, and enjoy. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Baylor University, students find their place to shine. They're faithful friends and inspirational leaders. They're championship teammates and independent thinkers. They're on the cutting edge of high tech and in the halls of history. If you want to make the world a brighter place, you can. And if you want to shine in your own way, you can. The spark you need is already inside you. Bring it to Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Get the vehicle you've been dreaming about at the President's Day event at Allen Samuels. The 2020 Dodge Charger SXT, ranked #1 in initial quality and driver appeal, has special values of $6,170 or 0% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in combo cash. The 2020 Dodge Charger is at the forefront of muscle car design. From the body to the wheels, it continues to impress. Visit the customer award-winning Allen Samuels, located at 201 West Loop 340 in Waco, to see the 2020 Dodge Charger SXT. See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain, or if you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic. Come see us at the new Baylor Scott and White Ted and Sue Getterman Sports and Orthopedic Center. Trusted doctors at Baylor Trust, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you back in the game.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs, on-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Chumwa Chatwa puts it up and through as he climbs the ladder and sail.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, last year, Dave Aranda opening season, off-season with Baylor, no spring drills, a lot of things as we know, and not just Baylor, but everybody. It was a little bit different. Some squeezed in some spring drills, practices. Baylor starts this week, and then we'll have some access Wednesday, Thursday, and even Saturday. Colt Barber, who is the, I know that Armstrong is the genius, but Colt Barber is the engine inside of SicEm365. Would you guys agree with that?
Yep.
He is amazing. He's always working, even sometimes when we don't even know it. Colt, thanks for being here. I love what you did. You had the depth chart, kind of a spring 2021, and as they start spring drills. And we mean that, by the way. You are the nuts, bolts, and the guts of SicEm365.com. I hope you know that.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. That means a lot. That I know that we always work side by side with all this to make it great, and we all have our different roles, and I definitely embrace and love mine.
So, which to you is more important or the most interesting? I know there's the glitz and glamour of who wins the quarterback job in that depth chart. Or is it because of the offensive line was such a mess? Is it still like well and beyond who cares about the offensive line? It's always the quarterback?
I mean, I guess at this level, the group of people that we cater to, I think they understand how important the offensive line is. So when you're talking to a casual fan, absolutely quarterback's number one. But I think in the diehard nature of a fan site that we have, the offensive line is definitely most important in their eyes. And I agree with that completely, because just last year, you look at Charlie Brewer, regardless of how you felt about him and how he performed, a better offensive line immediately makes that offense better. And so you throw that in to 2021 as well. Regardless of who's playing quarterback, even if they're an upgrade over Charlie Brewer, if the offensive line is better, that quarterback's naturally better than they're going to be with the worst offensive line. So if that group gets better, that's a great indication to the offense. And I think that naturally you'll see that line get a little bit better. I kind of expected that back under, when Larry Fedora started, just because of that offense. But I don't know that group of personnel and what Larry Fedora was going to do on offense. And we hear a lot about the players not plays. Players not plays, and I think that really identified with the offensive line more than we realized in comparison to the quarterback or running backs or whatever. Like, let's put those guys in position to succeed, and I think this offensive scheme will really help that personnel be a lot better than it was.
Across the two deep that you have, except for Gavin Byers, everybody's a sophomore or a junior, Colt, on the offensive line. Do you see a chance, though? Because, look, and not to mince words, but guys like Xavier Newman struggled mightily last year. If he doesn't get back right and maybe Mose Jeffrey's not ready to take over, do you see a chance a young guy could hop up?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be that opportunity. But what I will say is I think that when you have an established system and guys aren't performing, that's an opportunity for young guys to step up. Well, in this situation, it's not an established system. So I look to guys like Giancarlo Valentine or maybe a Henry Kling that have been in the system, or they've been in the program, I should say, and maybe they just felt, man, I don't really have a chance to play right now. I don't have this under a previous scheme or previous set of coaches, but now they have a kind of a new excitement. And you look at those guys who've been in the program, they're physically developed. They're mature, whereas you have a young guy that might not be. So I think that in a way you are correct that there is an opportunity for some new faces to get opportunities, but maybe that's for the older guys that have been there. You have a John Carlo Valentin that's a super senior, for instance, and then you have a Henry Kling who's everyone's kind of written off as being a contributor, but he might have an opportunity, and that's what they're going to need. They're going to need guys who are big and physical that want to run this offense, because we know they need to be physical under Jeff Grimes, and if they show that they can be physical, there might be an opportunity for them to go on the field.
Colt, of the skill positions on offense, I mean, wide receiver, got some, good returning players there, but a lot of them proven. Running back, I mean, you start with Ebner and some good young guys there. Tight end group, Ben Sims, Christoph Henley, and others. Which position group offensively are you most intrigued by or curious about?
It's so established in so many ways. They did lose some guys. You look at losing John Lovett and obviously Charlie Brewer, but I think it's so established that I don't know what kind of questions marks you have other than depth. I think that you look at a guy like Tyquan Thornton who has been there, and you know what he can do, and you want those guys to elevate their game and, one, stay healthy. That's a big part of it. But I think you have to look at the receiver position because of the lack of production from last year to say we need this group to step up. As coaches, we need this group to step up to be much better than they were. But that's also naturally within the scheme that if you put them in position to succeed, they will. But I think there's talent there that can elevate and play much better. And that's from, 6-year seniors like Jared Atkinson all the way down to the true freshman class. You talk about guys like Elijah Bean that are coming in, and I don't expect them to contribute immediately or be impact players immediately, but there's guys there up and down the roster that are talented, and you have to expect them to step up. And I think, just like I mentioned, this scheme is going to be an opportunity for them to have a new lease on life, to go out there and make plays. And I know we kind of talk about this with Jared Atkinson every single offseason, but he's a guy that definitely has the ability. He has always had the ability. He's flashed it in front of the coaches multiple times, and they continue to talk about him. So maybe a guy like that's a guy that steps up and becomes, you're not talking about a 1,000-yard receiver. You can't expect that from him, but he becomes a reliable second, third, or fourth option consistently. And that's huge for a position group that needs to have a big bounce back year.
Was the catch he made on what might have been almost like a wheel route or a crossing route, was that at Iowa State? Or was that at Oklahoma? You saw.
Iowa State.
Yeah, he's a big body. I mean, he's a big body at 6'3". Now, anyone in particular that did not – there were some defensive linemen last year that just never seemed to get on the field, injuries, COVID, whatever. How much do you feel like the fact they didn't get a chance to play much, Hall, whoever else, and then you had Landry step up a little bit towards the end of that year, then you have the big kid from LSU coming in as a monster. How much better can they be?
Man, I think that the number one thing to remember is how solid they were last year. And I think a lot of that has to do with scheme and Ron Roberts putting them in position to be successful. But they're not overly talented group. I mean, I love Ron Miller and I love Josh Landry, but they're not Ika or Apu Ika that's going to come in there and can take over a game. They play extremely hard, but the talent level just wasn't where you want it to be. But they performed so well. So you throw guys like Gabe Hall, who only played one game last year after he dislocated a kneecap during fall camp, didn't play early, came back for one game, and then went out and had surgery. And he's extremely talented. That goes back to the Matt Rule staff, how excited they were about him and his potential. That potential is still there. He just hasn't been healthy. Even dating back to his freshman year, he just kind of dealt with some nagging things. And last year, obviously having an issue with his knee again. But you got to get him healthy. And then Apu playing in that nose tackle position. I mean, there's a reason that guy was the top 150 recruit in the country. And he went to LSU and was, in line to be a very, very good, potentially All-American candidate at nose tackle before Dave Aranda left in that system. And there's a reason he wanted to come back and play for Dave Aranda. So that player, that particular position is so important to that defense to let those linebackers run free and make a lot of plays. That just his presence, along with the healthy Gabe Hall, can be massive. You start talking about TJ Franklin and Cheedy and all those guys, Garmin Randolph potentially emerging as a defensive end. I know they wanted to potentially add another defensive lineman, but from what they're going to get back and potentially keep healthy, that group can be very good. And in my opinion, overall amount of talent, you're talking about a line like the 2019 line that could be dominant. in a different way, mind you, than what we saw as far as a bunch of pass rushers, because it's a different scheme, but they can be a very dominant group if they can stay healthy.
Not to, sound homerish here, but, looking at the linebackers, it doesn't appear that there's a, weak link in the chain at least through 5, 6, 7 guys.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I think that the longer that Dave Aranda's in Waco, the more that's going to be the case, because linebackers are going to want to come and play for Dave Aranda and his history and the scheme to make plays. And but he inherited a strong group of linebackers as well, and those guys have shifted kind of how they play. Now, I will say that Matt Rule defense, that front seven just made plays. The Phil Snow defense, they just made plays. They weren't guys that weren't being asked to make plays. But this Dave Aranda defense, they're going to blitz a lot differently. They're going to be much different type of playmakers than they were in that Rules scheme. And I think that you look at Terrell Bernard, obviously, but Abram Smith being a backup, the way that he came on last year, you could plug him in at either the will linebacker if you need to. You could plug him in at Mike linebacker, and the depth that you have just with him and his versatility behind Dylan Doyle and Terrell Bernard is just significant. And there's some young guys, obviously, if you consider the jack position, a linebacker position, defensive line, but that jack position has the potential. Obviously, they lost the guy. My mind just went completely blank, but they lost him to the NFL. He could have come back. He didn't come back. William Bradley King. Yeah. And but Ashton Logan's there. Victor Obi is a guy that they're really high on at the jack position. But across the board, the experience and talent is there, and that front seven is going to be solid. There's other questions to go across the team, but those two positions right now, I don't think you have a lot to worry about as long as they can stay healthy.
Colt, is the biggest question in the secondary, because it seems like the starters are pretty stout. Is it just all about depth in the secondary and trying to build depth? Because I know they've got names and players, but there's a lot of it unproven back there.
Yeah, it's interesting because you look at the depth around the team. I mean, even the offensive line, you might not be too thrilled about how you feel about the depth, but even the offensive line has depth. And then you look at the secondary, you look at safety, you really have two guys, Christian Morgan and J.T. Woods, that's your depth at safety. I know Jeremy McVay was listed as a safety, but he's also played some of the star position, and he has to kind of move back and forth. So you have two guys that are really in a permanent stage there, or state there. And then they need a guy like Devin Neal to step up. But then you look behind him, and then who's the next one? And so there's a lot of question marks that need to be developed, that need to be answered this spring, and those guys need to be developed this spring. And I think they will in this particular defense and under this coaching staff. And you look at cornerback, Raleigh Tejada coming back was massive. I think they probably would have signed a grad transfer type if he would have left, because they just need that depth. But I think, like you mentioned, Kalen Barnes, Raleigh Tejada, Mark Milton at least has some experience. I think he can play a lot better. And then you're looking for a fourth, because as you guys know, you have one injury to a starting cornerback, you only have three. Then you're one away from having to play a guy that hasn't played a lot of football at corner.
All right. Now, with Charlie Brewer now at Utah, and it kind of has brought in a breath of fresh air at that quarterback competition. Young, these guys are vibrant. They're obviously all different shaping. Obviously, Bohannon, Drones, and then, of course, Jacob Zeno. I was the president of the Charlie Brewer fan club. It was a lightning rod with that. But how much do you think him now at Utah opens up these guys, and they now literally know they have a chance to have this job and makes them even better and more focused?
I think that we initially saw that right when Charlie Brewer announced, and you didn't see anyone leave. You didn't see Gary Bohannon say, hey, I'm leaving if he's coming back. Like that was a real possibility. I don't think that was as much of a possibility with Jacob Zeno as it was with Gary, but I think it was still a possibility with Jacob Zeno. And so you immediately say, this is up for grabs, and of course that's going to energize. I mean, I think that's the reality for any sport, any competitor that knows, hey, my turn is coming if I can just stick around. Now, we'll see how the spring goes and how those guys progress. I mean, you can look at Blake Shapen and say he decided not to play baseball, and he was 100% sold on playing baseball, but then he realized, hey, I have an opportunity to compete for a starting position. Even though I'm not have the best hand to come in and play immediately, we have two guys ahead of me, in terms of depth chart from last year, but also maturity and experience. But he decided not to play because he wants to compete for that spot. So I think that kind of resonates with everyone in the quarterback room, even a true freshman like they have, and then Kyron Drones, you have Kyron that says, hey, I have an opportunity to come in. So all those guys are going to go and compete. I think that's the best thing that could happen for a new offensive staff to say, your 4 quarterbacks or potential quarterbacks have the opportunity to compete. Everyone has a blank slate, and that makes everyone better, right? So you want the competition in the room. So I think I was big on Charlie Brewer as well. I think that there were some struggles that were around him that were not necessarily his. Maybe something that handicapped him on the offense as far as scheme go. Obviously, the offensive line struggled, but I think he landed in a great spot, and I'm anxious to see how he performs. And it's outside of the Big 12, it's outside of the region, and Baylor fans can kind of enjoy that from afar.
Well, Colt, sometimes, and you know this from covering recruiting as much as you have, sometimes transfers are it's not about who's mad and who's right and who's wrong. It's just about the timing of it. Like that seems to me like what's going on at the quarterback position for Baylor is that the timing of this kind of had to be this way.
Yeah, and it's natural. You have a new staff that comes in. I think you look back to Charlie Brewer and Larry Fedora, and there was a lot of excitement for the potential there. And I think that Charlie Brewer was about to go on to another offensive coordinator, and it made that decision easier for him to say, hey, I'm ready to go. Like I've done this thing here at Baylor. I've graduated. I could come back and play another year, but I would be under a new offensive system anyways. It's not like I'm returning to the same system. And it was just natural. And I wish Charlie the best, man. He was such a competitor. He won them how many games or tied, led him to come back to ties in so many games throughout his career. He was such a spark plug. He had his limitations. I think in the moment Baylor fans were upset with his performance at times, but you look back on this in 5 or 6 years and you realize he was a pretty daggone good football player for Baylor, and he won them a lot of games. So I'm excited to see how he does at Utah.
So, Colt, typically during an offseason when a team's coming off a year like Baylor is and they made a lot of changes, there's all this excitement because there's change, and change was needed. But one part of the change this offseason that there's been a lot of buzz about has been that strength and conditioning staff under Vic Valoria. Have the returns that you've been hearing been as positive as they seem to have been everywhere else when Vic Valoria has been talked about?
Yeah, I mean, just the atmosphere and the buzz when you talk to people that he brings. Now, you got to remember, this is a guy that has high-level experience. I mean, his time at Florida State was just he was kind of beyond his years at Florida State, helped develop that program under Jimbo Fisher. But then at LSU and the way that he was there under a championship culture, now he brings that energy to Baylor, and that's what he knows. And if you look, that just epitomizes what Dave Aranda has built as a coaching staff, the experience and the success that all of those guys have. You talk about, I don't know how many actually have national championship rings, but there's a lot of them that have national championship rings as far as who's on the staff and the strength and conditioning, and then actually on the field, and then going into the recruiting department, the personnel department. And that's what Vic Valoria has. And he brings his energy, and the returns, obviously they were so far back from last year, not having a true off season. You had guys that needed to develop last year. You talk about like a Gabe Hall who didn't get to develop even as a true freshman because he came in late, but then missed all of last offseason. And then they need that offseason to get bigger and stronger and more physical this year. And so I think it was a great opportunity to start fresh. And the players have, from everything I've been told, and I know there's always going to be a few outliers, but they've embraced him and they love what he does and the energy that he brings. And you see that in the videos. And that's kind of a window for us to see. And maybe you might feel like, hey, this isn't, we don't know if that's actually really what's going on. But from everything I've heard, those videos are a great example and a great window into the type of energy that entire program has right now as far as the off-season conditions.
I was about to ask this question. Which new coach on staff, position coach or otherwise, will have the biggest impact for Baylor football in 2021? And I know that Jeff Grimes and obviously Eric Mateos and Chancey Stuckey, among others, Coach Kevin Curtis, but I'm not so sure the answer may not be Vic Valoria because they need some strength, they need some power, and they didn't have it very much last year. All right, Colt, thank you.
Your bracket still perfect?
I was actually just looking at that, and I put my name into the one that we did on SicEm365, and I'm in the 98th percentile. And I'm shocked, and I guess that just tells you how bad or how weird this year has been, because I know that mine's not good, but it's still in the 98th percentile. I'm like, hey, I'll take it. And I think I'm number 4 right now. And I picked the Gonzaga region for me is actually perfect right now. I think that's carrying me through. I picked Oregon over Iowa was the big one. I think a lot of people missed on.
Yeah.
And but that's the only region that I'm obviously the South region's terrible, but that one has kind of carried me through the first few couple of games this weekend.
Well, see, I'm looking at it right now. Thank you very much, Cole. Appreciate it. Great stuff in the premium section, and also the brains and the guts of SicEm365.com as far as what he does and what he produces. Brian Etheridge and Ashley Hodge, of course, the partners of SicEm365 Radio. I don't know how I continue to be in the top. I don't know how this is happening. But my percentage was 94%. Now it's 84.6%. So it's a matter of time for me.
Oh, don't even tell me mine, because I haven't looked and I don't want to know how bad it is.
It's not, Craig.
It's not bad?
What? It's not that bad.
It's right in the middle of the
right
group.
In the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll be average when it comes to the bracket, I guess. But
mine is bad.
Oh, is it?
Well, everybody, we're so homer-driven because we mentioned this on Friday. But Steve May, who had a pretty good thing going, he's the only one that picked someone besides Baylor, picked Illinois, so he's done.
Well, he had a pretty good thing going.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
JD's in the 4 percentile.
Now, he just throw up
that means
like colors of
the brackets are better than his.
Yeah.
That's his real bracket.
I looked through JD's bracket. It is terrible. So much so that it's so bad that he should be suspended from the show for like 2 or 3 days.
Maybe he was wearing his sunglasses in a dark room or something.
To go watch basketball and realize basketball is the one where the guys dribble the ball and throw it through the hoop. I don't know if they teach that at Cornell. I'm not sure. He must have missed it. But oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not doing great, but
yeah, I haven't looked at all, because remember I said that I picked a lot of the favorites, and this has not been a favorite heavy tournament.
No, it hasn't
so I'm
been.
surprised that I'm actually even in the middle. But
you're good.
Before you put up that question on
position
the
battle,
position groups, I guess offensive line tight ends should be split, really, because Grimes is coaching tight ends, and the offense and the offensive line is. You see what I'm saying, though? Like,
but I can only put up 4. So
right,
quarterback, wide receiver. Should I do skill position as one?
I don't think, given Drake Dabney being hurt, that there's going to be a whole lot of tight end competition. I think they're kind of where they're at.
So just get rid of it?
Yeah, just get rid of it.
How about this? I'll put it as a write-in vote. And if you want to say tight ends.
I mean, O-line, of course. Quarterback, of course. I mean, that's the thing is kind of like Cole was saying, like all their skill positions are pretty solid. I mean, they've got to prove something, of course, but on paper they're pretty solid. But yeah, I'd keep running backs and receivers on there because there's nothing else to put unless you want to put tight ends on there.
I can only put 4 up because of Twitter. Why they wouldn't have 5, I don't know.
Well, because then somebody will want 6, and somebody will want 7.
You're right, and we'll
everybody
do this
always
as well.
wants so much from Twitter, and they can only give so much.
Yeah,
all right, so
they're so benevolent.
By the way, 31-21 UCLA a minute into the second half over Abilene Christian. I noticed a lot of those who cover Texas writers are tweeting that score to create even more of a firestorm.
Well,
storm.
I was asking that question to Seth earlier, and really I wanted to ask like what he thought of Shaka's job security, not because I think Texas fans' opinions are equal to what the school is actually thinking, but I am curious of what someone of his status does think about. Is that the type of loss where if you're Texas, you're like, all right, enough. We've not won a single tournament game with this guy in 6 years. Or is he consistent enough in the fact that, hey, upsets happen? It's just like, no, we're going to keep riding. And I imagine they keep riding with Shaka. I don't think that was so bad that, like, you flip the program on its head. But at some point, he does need to win a tournament game.
Oh, yeah. He does. He does. I mean, he does. It's 6 years. Abilene Christian has more wins,
But, yeah, I saw a lot of people, and I hated this. Somehow Baylor coaches, both current and former, always seem to be involved in the rumor mill. And so immediately after Texas lost, they were kind of intrigued by some former Baylor assistants who picked up wins in the first round. So wouldn't that be something? You hear Paul Mills get pursued by Texas or any of the other quality candidates. But yeah, they could look that direction.
All right, so Jerome Tang just replayed or retweeted. Armstrong, go to Baylor men's basketball. We've had video today. It's what I love about this show on SicEm365 Radio. Baylor MBB. There's a video. They had a kickball, baseball. Here's Matthew Meyer. A deep shot to deep left center field. Round second. Watch Jared Butler near here the end. There's Maceo Teague. Here's the play at the plate. Look at Jared Butler.
Man, I feel great. We just beat the coaches. Day in the life in the boat, man. You know how it is.
What stadium is that?
I don't know.
They used to be the Indianapolis Indians. I don't think that's what they are anymore. But that's the minor league ballpark that's there in Indianapolis.
Jerome Tang said video replay showed that the ball hit him, so the last run should count. We claim a tie, culture of joy and competitiveness.
Well, that's cool. It's a nice, creative way. I'm not sure who had that idea, but that's an interesting way to pass the time when you got a little bit of a break and have some fun. And a little player-coach competition.
He did get tagged in the butt on the throw.
Well, it's got to be on the you got to hit him in the air.
Oh,
that's the rule. You know how I know that? Life is an intramural ref. I know the rules to kickball.
Look at those two guys.
He's very safe.
He's very safe. You got to hit him in the air. You can't hit him on the bounce. So.
Oh, just thank God that everyone's healthy.
I really, really want him to look. If you're gonna go mullet, do a better mullet than he's got.
No,
he's got to. Like,
there's people who hate him.
But it looks homemade. If you're gonna make a terrible hairstyle choice, at least make it with a professional.
39-21 UCLA beating Abilene Christian. All right, when we come back, and Ohio Creighton have just started. They're like halfway. Well, the little defensive struggle, 11-10 Ohio.
This is about to get real ugly for ACU.
When we come back, but they had their moment like UNT did. Good for them. And they may have made me the happiest with their tournament win, whenever that was, late Saturday night, whenever that possibly was. By the way, from the 4-6-9, J.D.'s bracket is ahead of only one person, Gunny Hartman, who picked every lower seed throughout the bracket. So Gunny on purpose intentionally tried to finish dead last. When we come back, Jason King, college basketball writer for SicEm365.com. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street. One of our OG sponsors and one of the best places you can go when you're looking for craft beer. No better selection of craft beer. Great walk-in fridge they have, rotated out seasonally. Great selection of spirits, great selection of wines, great knowledgeable staff, an efficient drive-through. There's really nothing else I can say about Riverbend Liquor and Wine other than it's one of the best places I've ever been when it comes to finding what I want. Or look, if they're out, they can pretty much tell me right when they're going to have something. And I've only encountered out a couple of times going there. I say a couple, maybe just once. And it was like a limited release Balcones thing that, I waited too long on, and that was on me and not them for sure. So again, they're usually not out of things. And if they are, they know exactly. That'll be tomorrow at 2 p.m. Boom, right there. That's when it'll be. That's their staff. That's what they do there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Qualified buyer, see dealer for details. The anniversary sales event is happening now at Richard Carr. 22 years in Central Texas is worth celebrating with big savings on all cars and trucks. Savings like $3,500 off a 2021 Buick Envision or Buick Encore GX. Save $6,000 off a 2021 Buick Enclave. Save $6,500 off a 2021 GMC Train or GMC Acadia. Come by for prize giveaways and deep anniversary discounts on every car or truck on the lot. It's the anniversary sales event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com. SicEm365Radio.com.
At Marco's Pizza, get craveable pizza made the Italian way with dough made from scratch, an original sauce recipe, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and premium toppings you love, served hot and safe. Right now, you can get unlimited medium one-topping pizzas for just $6.99 each. Why stop at just one? Order with your app or at marcos.com for curbside, carryout, or delivery today. Marco's, pizza lovers get it.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio. March marks 22 years for Richard Carr Motors. Celebrate with big savings going on now during the anniversary sale event.
All right, here we go. SicEm365 Radio. Real happy for Sam Kahn Jr. Sam wrote, I think, for a while with the Houston paper, and then he started working with ESPN.com. We've had him on as a guest. Ashley, Jason, thanks for your time. So what you saw Friday continue into Sunday with Wisconsin, how much more, I guess, are you positive with Baylor getting to a Final Four?
Yeah, I'm real encouraged by what I saw, both Friday and Sunday, especially defensively, and just the overall body language and energy. This team really seems to be locked in. Davion Mitchell's playing like a man possessed. I just think they're better than everyone. To tell you this, it's just that simple. They should not lose, in my opinion, before the Final Four. Villanova without Colin Gillespie, even if he was there, I think that they would beat them and whoever else falls in line after that. So really like what I've seen. I think that 4 or 5 day break they had after the Big 12 tournament was perfect. It's just what they needed. They've regrouped. They're in a good place right now, and I'm encouraged.
Jason, when you look around at the Scott Drew coaching tree, especially Oral Roberts and what they're doing now, they're a 15 seed. I would say that maybe they're a little bit miscast as a 15 seed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I definitely, especially when you see some of these 13 and 14 seed play, you're like, man, they're a lot better than that. It is weird that, you watch this team. My first thought is, how in the world do they finish 4th in their league? That's the one, question I have that I just honestly don't know enough about to answer. But they're really good. After they beat Ohio State, I watched that whole game, and then I saw that they were playing Florida, and I thought, they're going to beat Florida. I felt great about it. If I was a gambling man, I would have bet the Oral Roberts money line on that one. I thought they were the better team. And anytime you have 2 high-level players like that can score like those guys, it seems like you're going to have a chance against a lot of people. So, I'll be honest, man, it wouldn't shock me if they won their next round either. I believe they played Arkansas earlier in the year, played them a tough game. So usually with these, when you see a 14 or a 15 advance, this far, usually it only lasts a game or two. And they always tell you when you're picking your bracket, you want to just do it for one round, because usually after one big win, that 14 or 13, 14 or 15 will phase out. But this is a team that's hot right now. And I don't know if they'll phase out quite yet. So it's been fun to watch.
Jason, what have you thought?
It was kind of cool talking. It was kind of cool last week. I know you guys and myself talked to Grant McCaslin, and then I got a hold of Paul Mills, and I'm pretty sure you guys did at some point, or one of his assistants. But it was kind of cool, kind of being on the front end of that. And when I hung up with both of those guys, I had a good feeling about their chances. And seeing them, 24, 48 hours later go out there and do the thing was kind of neat to witness.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. Jason, what have you thought about the Pac-12's flash of dominance and the Big Ten just not quite living up to those expectations pre-tournament?
Yeah, I'll be surprised. I've been surprised with the Pac-12. I don't think that they get a lot of respect nationally. I've never, beyond Oregon, I haven't been too high on the Pac-12 in quite a while. I used to love Arizona. Sean Miller had some great teams, 3 and 4 years ago. They've opted down for, a lot of reasons we could discuss on another show. But I think UCLA's had a hard time getting back to form after Ben Howland and those 3 Final Fours. I mean, they're certainly on a roll right now. And, I guess you got to get in their respect. And the Big Ten, we heard all year how there was the best league in the country. And, I don't know. I think sometimes people just look at metrics and things of that sort, and maybe they were a bit overrated. But, let's be honest. I mean, the Big 12 isn't doing too good either.
Right. I was going to ask you about that.
If Kansas loses tonight, which they very well could, Big 12 could have one team in the Sweet 16. I mean, so everyone's saying that was the second best league. And we've talked on this show how, there's tons of parity in the league, and the games are fun as heck to watch for the most part because they're always close and things of that sort. But I just don't think these teams are that great. I can't say I'm that shocked that. I'm definitely shocked Texas lost, let's be honest, But for the most part, I didn't think, a lot of these squads were that dominant that they couldn't get by anyone, and that's played out. I think the biggest disappointment in the Big 12 to me was just the way Oklahoma State played last night. I was so high on them all year, loved the way they played down the stretch. I think they had more top 25 wins than any team in the country, and they just looked absolutely terrible last night. I couldn't believe it. Against the team they should have beat. Looked poorly coached, poorly prepared, no chemistry, no cohesion, and they just laid an egg. I think that was one of the bigger disappointments for me.
UCLA is pounding Abilene Christian. A great run, though, for Coach Goldie. 47-25, 14 minutes left. Creighton up 3 on Ohio, 5 minutes left in the first half. David K. put in his notes yesterday a nugget about statistically, and I put that up, and everyone reacted to it. I think you included that as well in your written review of the game. Jason, I'm sure it's happened many times, but it just never – 4 turnovers, which is insane, and 3 of them were block charge calls, and one of them was Davion with a carry. Is that almost impossible not to turn it over? A bad pass, somebody else makes a great defensive play and gets in front of a pass?
That's crazy. I mean, absolutely. I was shocked by that, and yes, I did put that in my notes, but that was just because David alerted me to it. I had no idea that had happened. I think at Kansas this year they only had 1 or 2 turnovers, which is also nuts. Wisconsin is a team that doesn't really put a lot of intense pressure on you full court or anything, so you would probably have less turnovers against them. They especially weren't going to do that against Baylor because they just weren't athletic enough, I think, to contend with them. But still, you figure at some point in the game you're going to have one live ball turnover, or at least 3 or 4. So we've talked all year about how special this backcourt is, and that was the exclamation point right there. Exclamation point.
Jason King, SicEm365.com with us, and also thefield68.com.
Jason, the matchup with Villanova, you mentioned no Gillespie, and he's not there. But Jay Wright, you give him he's one of those guys, you don't want to give him a week to just sit around and watch you, do you?
Mm-hmm. No, the guy's, a Hall of Fame coach with 2 national titles, so, a couple of those when they won them, I don't think people really predicted him to win going into the tournament. He's a high-level elite coach in this profession. And I tell you, I didn't think they would be in the Sweet 16 without Gillespie. That was the trendy pick to lose, right? In the first round, everyone was picking Winthrop, and they go out there and beat them, I think, by 10 points. And, obviously took care of business against North Texas. So they're looking good, but now they haven't faced a team like Baylor. And I'll be honest, man, I hope Scott Drew uses that whole thing from the beginning of the year when, they didn't get to go up and play in that tournament with Villanova and Arizona State. I think the backstory on that is Villanova didn't want to play the game. I initially was ragging on Arizona State, but I think Villanova was the one whose team doctor was like, no, we can't have them up here. Scott Drew had COVID 8 days ago. that cost Baylor 2 quality games early in the season. Maybe they could draw some momentum for that. I know Scott's always looking for anything he can to get his players riled up. But I just think, back to this game, I think this Baylor's just a considerably, glaringly better team than Villanova right now. And then, again, if they just come out with that energy and locked in like they've been and that defensive effort, I just think they're going to beat them and without much problem. To tell you the truth, I can see a 10 to 12 point win.
Jason, this is a random question. I was just thinking about this over the weekend. See more and more people when Matthew Meyer has a big game to talk about, his pro potential. I think, the expectations that he's going to play a large role in this team next year. But what have you heard just as far as way out there in the future? What is kind of the opinion of Matthew Meyer as an NBA player?
Well, I mean, I think he's definitely on everyone's radar just because of his skill set alone and, his ability to do just about everything as a 6'9" player, whether it's, defend various positions, whether it's handle the ball, whether it's shoot it from the outside or also penetrate and pull up or finish. And he can do so much, I just think, so right now, I mean, I think if he were to enter the draft, I mean, he would definitely get drafted. I don't think he'd be a first round pick, but he would probably go, late in the second round just based on potential. But I think everyone in NBA scouts would even tell him to go back, and really get a chance to play quality minutes, even more so than he has this year, be a starter, be a star, see how he handles being the top guy on a team and continue to develop his skill set. Cause again, we're just seeing bits and pieces of it now, but I think they want to see a full season of him. But I definitely think he's going to play in the league without question. And, it's tournaments like this, it's games like this, like the one he had the other day against Wisconsin that, that can really elevate a guy's stock. I mean, it's the same that, scouts don't notice a guy until all of a sudden he has a great game. But I mean, that could really propel him, up high up on the draft boards. But I think, I don't expect him to leave this year, but I do expect him to after next season, and I think he'll make some good money in the league without question.
We had Seth Greenberg on earlier today, who's a huge fan of what Scott Drew's team is all about. And he said LaFonso Ellis, every time Matthew Meyer gets the ball or whatever, starts to scream on the set, NBA. He's an NBA guy. I mean, like he has become like the president of the Matthew Meyer fan club. And that's coming from a guy that played at Kentucky, played well, and, of course, played a little bit, I guess, in the league. So he's definitely caught the attention of a lot of people.
Well, I think a lot of times when people that just watch the Bears, occasionally maybe they caught 10 minutes in one game or they watched the big game they had, they're going to love Matthew Meyer because, again, they're just going to see the upside and the potential, and they're going to see him go off and hit a couple of threes and penetrate, make a nice move and score. And they're going to be like, oh, my gosh, NBA. And I don't blame him for saying that. But when you really watch him from game to game, it's obvious that he's still, very erratic, makes a lot of bad decisions, tries to force things at times. I think, body language can be bad. I think he can go into slumps where things snowball on him and they have to take him out. So those are things that are going to get better as he gains more minutes. Now maybe they say, hey, let's let him get better in the NBA. Let's put him in the G League and let him, play through that little slump or portion of his youth and work things out in the G League instead of at Baylor. And, maybe that's something Matt would want to do. I would hope not. But I can totally see why LaFonso Ellis or anyone would watch snippets of Matt Meyer and think NBA. I mean, his own teammates say it. Mm-hmm. They even tell you, hey, Matt's the best NBA prospect on the team. And maybe that's truly the case. I can certainly see why they would think that.
Jason, thank you, man. Appreciate your time and all you do for us, the site, also thefield68.com and college basketball. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
Jason King with us quite a bit. We appreciate him. All right, update, ACU down 47-25, just under 12 minutes left in that game. And Ohio and Creighton, the last time I looked, Creighton had separated a little bit, 31-22 with 3 minutes plus left in that game.
Joe Burrow is at that game.
Is he really?
At the what game?
The Creighton, Ohio game, because he's from Athens, Ohio. So
Jay Billis, and I do agree with this, and Paul's 5 at 5:55 coming up. The charge block call in the college game, which is rarely called a block, is in desperate need of repair. The Rules Committee needs to fix it. Nothing makes the game unwatchable, but it's maddening for players, coaches, and fans. They have the semicircle now, the line out there, But yeah, there are still. It's like pass interference. It has to somehow be tweaked just a little bit better.
I had a friend tell me this weekend that he also thinks the theatrics of the block charge call has
allowed the officials.
The officials kind of have gotten a little too emotionally into it.
Yeah.
And so because of that, because again, look, if you're going to get applause when you do something, sometimes you can't help but do it. Or it's like think about like a little kid when they sing a song and everybody claps and they all think, oh, I want to sing all the time. Well, maybe they were just clapping because you did it, not because you were good at it. But, I think that's certainly part of it. The psychological factor in that, I think, needs to be weighed.
I hate the call. I hate that it's such a bang call. What about you?
Well, you could have let it finish. I don't really have I don't really have anything to add to that. I'm in agreement, and if they could clean it up a little, that'd be great.
There were umpires back when I was younger. Ron Luciano, what's his name? Emmett Ashford, I think it was. They were very demonstrative. Now you see guys that are a little bit less demonstrative when it comes to that.
I think there's a little bit of the theatrics to it, and guys get into it a little bit because kind of get their heads pumped up a little. But yeah, I mean, there's some tweaking that should be done with that call.
One final note on late Elgin Baylor. We had Seth Greenberg mention it. Baylor, I thought, one of the most underrated players in NBA history, although whoever covered it back in the day, they know who he is.
It's Elgin Baylor.
Tommy Beer. Michael Jordan averaged 30.1 points per game. Chamberlain 30. Only two players in NBA history averaged more points per game than Elgin Baylor throughout their entire career. And he averaged 27.4. Think about all the names. Mm-hmm. I don't know what LeBron's averaging.
I can't believe we didn't have Zach Burke.
Alcindor or Jabbar. What?
I was going to try to deliver a joke there. I was going to say I can't believe Zach Burke didn't get on the phone with us to give us a scouting report on the career of Elgin Baylor. He's such a fan of the old NBA there. He could have really given us some of the great moments. Memories.
Did you guys see this game from 38 years ago?
Yeah. When we come back.
But yeah, that is, all-timer, no doubt. And probably
classy dude, too.
Probably doesn't get mentioned. He's one of those guys that always gets mentioned when they put the stat up on the board, and he's like third or fourth or whatever, the fourth ever to do it. But when people talk about the greatest of all time, I never hear his name brought up. It's always like the same 5 or 6, but then when they put the stats up, there's always a name that's right there with everybody else's, and it's Baylor's.
That might be a good topic for another day, is on what sports are the ones who are great, elite, like all-time great, but you never hear baseball, whatever, football. When we come back, Paul Catalina's 5 at 5:55.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs, too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Payments for qualified buyer with $4,000 down, 3.9% DTL, extra CD for details. The 22-year anniversary sales event is going on now at Richard Carr. Make your refund or stimulus even bigger when you add savings like a 2019 Buick Encore for only $169 a month, a 2018 GMC Train for only $208 a month, a 2018 GMC Sierra for only $374 a month. 100% credit approval is always our goal. Get here now and save during the anniversary sales event going on now at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more. Want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Learning to navigate life in the COVID-19 world has been a struggle, and where and how to get tested has been one of the biggest challenges. Impact Health Labs has your answer. If you need mass testing for your office, church, dormitory, or school, Impact Health Labs is who to call. They will come to you, conduct the testing at your location, and have the test back within 24 hours. Most major insurance accepted, meaning your out-of-pocket cost is low. So no more waiting by the phone for days to find out the results. Impact Health Labs was founded by 3 Army licensed and credentialed medical professionals. They believe in accuracy, efficiency, and doing the job right. Call 254-744-6233 to set up your group screening today. Impact Health Labs. On-site, prompt, and accurate, taking COVID-19 head-on. Again, that number is 254-744-6233 or online at impacthealthlabs.com.
Welcome back to SicEm365 Radio.
Trice pickpocketed by Mitchell. In the blink of an eye, they go the other way. Butler converts.
Now we go live to coverage of the NCAA men's tournament in Indianapolis with Jason King of SicEm365.
What was this?
I think I transposed the numbers on these breaks.
Should we be on a flight?
No. So.
All right. By the way, baseball beat number 10 Texas in the last of the 3-game series yesterday, 11-2. Good to see them get the win there. Baylor volleyball added a match, I think it was with Kansas State, that's going to be this week. I just saw our friend Scotty that was it women's tennis? Is that right? Women's tennis?
Men's tennis.
Men's tennis swept through somebody today, 7-0. Volleyball added Kansas State on March the 31st. All right, Paul's 5, right at 5:55.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
All right, top 5 stories coming out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. And I hope Jack got my correction on this one. Is the Big Ten overrated? Was it overrated? Look, you can ask the same question maybe about the Big 12, but the Big Ten might stand, if Michigan gets upset, this greatest conference in the country this year that got,
Maryland's still alive?
Yeah, Maryland's still alive. But if Maryland and Michigan both lose this evening, then the Big Ten, whoo, man.
I don't know how you guys feel about this, and it's me, but I don't think I don't think that your postseason tournament success completely dictates whether you had a dominant year. The SEC in football wins a lot of national titles, and we hear about their conference. But, there was a year.
They lose a lot of bowl games,
too. A couple of years ago, they were like 2-5 or 3-8, whatever it was, and, you just disappeared. It's like, I don't. Craig, what do you think? Does tournament success dictate whether the conference was dominant this year?
It shouldn't, but it does. I mean, it shouldn't, but that's what everybody points to because not everybody else is watching those regular seasons. They just know that by the time the tournament rolls around, like, hey, this is what Ohio State's done up until this point. And then you see Ohio State and they lose to a 15 seed. So it's like that's going to be your takeaway is, well, they were overrated. It doesn't matter who they beat during the season or how they got to be a number 2 seed. It's the fact that they lost to a 15. So, no, you gotta go in the postseason and perform. Otherwise, there's no titles to be had. I mean, you can win 1 billion regular season games. But you don't win the postseason. It's all for naught.
All right, number 4, what coach does Indiana not let leave the state? And look, this came on the heels. I was ready to, go speculate, and they're going to have to go back to the drawing board. But according to Indiana Rivals, Indiana and Thad Matta, former Ohio State coach who resigned for health reasons, had a deal, but he failed his physical. So, but I will say this news is probably good news for the people worried about Scott Drew. If they're ready to pull the trigger now, then they're not going to wait on Scott.
Yeah.
Or they're not going to wait on anybody.
Or maybe they've been told you don't need to discuss this.
Yeah,
with Scott.
exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing about that though is the guy I was thinking who's in the region and who's had a lot of success and has been very good in the tournament is Porter Moser at Loyola. And maybe. I mean, but. Maybe he doesn't want to go there. I don't know. Look, Loyola's got a good thing going. They also have, while we're talking about Loyola, they have Cameron Krutwig, who looks to me, honestly, like after the game, he went and poured cement for 8 hours.
With boots on and overalls. Yeah. Well, he was a bad mother.
He's 4 kids, and he went to the bar and had an old style.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Or 2 afterwards. Okay, number 3. Lower seeds have staying power. We talked about this with a couple of different guests in that they don't have to go back and ping pong back and forth between all these places, and they can so it's just kind of about the game in front of you and not about all the fanfare this year. Curious about that. Number 2, Shaka Smart and his future at Texas. I don't know why it came out Shake. I mean, I guess it was autocorrect, but Shaka Smart's.
He was shook.
Yeah. Shaka Smart's future at Texas. Really, you got to wonder what they're going to do because he was almost fired last year, and that was a good decision not to fire him. They didn't, they made the NCAA tournament. They have a lot of good young players. They got some NBA talent guys.
Got a new arena.
Coming. Yeah.
He's not playing the style that he was at Virginia Commonwealth. That's the problem I have. They have, and he's getting better players, obviously, but is he getting hungry type players that you have to play with what he wants? They still don't play. The guards are pretty electric and very athletic, but they're so out of control.
And as we go to VCU,
but he did dodge the bullet last spring.
When you talk about what happened to VCU and in their COVID outbreak that they had after they got to Indianapolis, you want to wonder, number 1, is the bubble sustainable? Can they do it? I think so. It just bears. There's concern with, okay, where was VCU? How does this happen? And how do they react? But so far, so good. But you do wonder, was there enough time to get through all the protocols that they probably would have needed to do this?
Yeah, they've played. There were 68 teams, right? Mm-hmm. How many are left after today? 16. Mm-hmm. So, that doesn't mean you can't have something flare up. But I feel like there still might be 1 or 2 of these cases, but they seem to have these guys under control. Mm-hmm. Well, they can't ever control the virus. It doesn't appear, but whatever. All right. I like it. I like the comment about the double-digit seeds, especially the mid-majors, and not having to fly back home to Fordham or Nacogdoches or Abilene or wherever and hear how good you are. They're all buckled up. And that's what Jerome Tang said. If you didn't hear that, that's available. Seth Greenberg was available as well. All right? So, tomorrow, Mac Rhodes, David Hellman, John McClain, and I got a couple of nuggets I'm working on as well. Plus, the women will play against Virginia Tech. Armstrong, Sims, incredible. Great job as always. By the way, Creighton up 15 on Ohio at halftime and UCLA up 23 with 5 minutes left on Abilene Christian. So that is both those games are blowouts, and that's been the exception, it seems like, this year. Thanks to Jerome Tang, Evan Miyakawa, Seth Greenberg, Kim Mulkey, Colt Barber, Jason King. For Paul and Craig and Armstrong, thank you, our great sponsors from start to finish since April the 6th. I'm David Smoak. Good night on SicEm365 Radio.
Time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has been proudly serving Texans across the state for over 60 years. Call 254-772-8090 to find an agent who will provide a free review of your auto, home, and life coverage.
March marks 22 years for Richard Carr Motors. Celebrate with big savings going on now during the anniversary sale event.